Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Fantasy Fullback Dive, brought to you by the good people at the Roto Street Journal. Paving your way to fantasy glory, acting as your lead blocker on the way to fantasy excellence, making all your football-related fantasies come true. I'm your host, Nat the Truth Jones, fresh off just a 24-hour break, or a 22-hour break probably since the last time we were on the air together. We do them in bunches, people. And we did the first round yesterday. We're going to do sleepers today, which is going to be very informative for me. Everybody loves a good sleeper. We drafted snack food yesterday. I've already forgotten. And now we're going to draft TV shows today. I personally had a really hard time with this. I know the Wolf did too. Speaking of the Wolf of Roto Street himself is here. How's it going? You ready for this?
I can't wait. It's always one of the best shows, sleepers. You know, nothing better than when you nail those last round picks. Anybody can get it right in those early rounds. But when you find those late round league winners, those home run hitters, and it's obviously a pretty low hit rate because you're talking about we're going round 10 and beyond. In fact, I think we limited it today to 140 or beyond in the ADP. So you got to go pretty late for these sleepers. But when you get them right, you just nail it out of the park. And last year's show, we hit quite a few. Actually, we typically do pretty well. We usually get like 3 to 5 out of 10. And when you're batting 500 in sleeper territory, you're really doing something right. So we're going to have 2 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends, 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers for you folks. And as you mentioned, a nice TV draft. I did struggle very much. Like how do you limit a show of like a list of 20 great shows down to your top 5? And we'll see what you pick too. But it's going to be a real fun one for sure today.
It's going to be a good one. I was going to ask you, you kind of alluded to this, the ratio of correct sleeper picks that you could nail. I'm going to say to you, like, people love to give hate when you're wrong about stuff, of course. But when it comes to something like sleepers, it's not like the first round where you're expected to hit 95% of the time, something like that. You better not say something like, we've made a couple terrible first round, like Jerick McKinnon comes to mind. Years ago, stuff like that. You miss one of those, it's a big deal. If you throw 20 sleepers out there, you're going to miss a bunch of them. How many do you want to nail in a situation where you're throwing out, say, 20 to feel like you got something to hang your hat on? Because if you nail 1 out of 20, it's like, that's great, but the whiff ratio is too high, in my opinion.
I feel like if you can get like 7, like let's call it 33% or higher, like a batting average at the MLB level, I feel like you've done really well at that point. In my draft guide, too, I do have about 30 sleepers, and I do put like the Wolves icon next to the ones that are my favorites. We're going to talk about 10 of my favorites. I'm not keeping anything from you folks. I'm going to give you my favorite sleepers of the year here, but there are also another 20 of them, including like 10 more that I really feel strongly about. So definitely, if you do have the means, check out the guide, support your boy. It would mean the world as well. But yeah, I think if you hit like 7 of 20 or so, you've had a great year. Like you said, Truth, it's so funny. Everyone likes to focus on I got like a retweet yesterday out of nowhere where someone was like, hey, great Dylan Labe call last year. Like the Raiders running back. Out of nowhere. It's like, okay.
You caught a stray in like August 2025 for that.
And he was a guy too. Like he was going undrafted. It was more like, hey, just keep your eyes on this guy. Maybe he emerges in the season. Of course, no retweet on like the next Kyron Williams is Bucky Irving. I tweeted out too last year. Nobody mentions that one. But of course, like Dylan Labe out of nowhere. So people do love to hate when you miss. They rarely like to give you the praise when you hit. But we did have some really good ones last year. And if you can get like 6 out of your list of 20 to 30, you've had a really good season. Because there are some years where like truly there just are like maybe 2 actual good late round picks and all the rest just don't matter. And you find some people on waivers. But it can be such a tricky minefield to navigate. I feel really good about this 2025 crop, though. I really like these guys that we're going to talk about.
I can't wait to hear about them. You said you referenced 30 guys in the guide, which is out for purchase right now, which I've heard is selling like hotcakes. 30 guys. If you nail 8 to 10 of those, you'll feel like you did a good job.
I'll feel like I did really good. And nailing too, like we maybe have the 6. Bucky Irvings, which they're like late round league winners and they truly shift the title. If you get anything usable though out of an actual sleeper, like you can plug this guy in your wide receiver 3 spot and it ends up panning out for you. Maybe not the guy that absolutely swings you a title, but he's actually in your lineup. That to me is a win. Because again, we're talking the last rounds here of drafts. So to define a win would be just usable production. And then the grand slam is when this guy is like, nope, you're never benching him. He is always in your lineup and all your opponents are going to regret not having him.
All right. Fair enough. Yeah. And speaking of sleepers, and I got some of this from you last year. I got Jaden Daniels and BTJ. And I think with 2 of my last 3 picks Got him really dirt cheap, a couple bucks in the auction. And I still didn't make the playoffs. But anyway.
Brutal.
brutal.
Shall we dive in, Truth?
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
All right, we're starting with quarterbacks. I got 2 quarterback sleepers for you today. The first being J.J. McCarthy. And I know you just mentioned Jayden Daniels, so I will just preface this by, like, Drake May is my Jayden Daniels of this year. I don't know if he'll hit at that level, but I don't necessarily qualify him as a sleeper. He's going 110 to 120, so I wanted to dig a little deeper. But for any of you out there in some leagues where quarterbacks really do fall, I do prefer Drake May to J.J. McCarthy. I want that to be clear from the jump, but I also really do love McCarthy. We talked about this a bit with Jefferson last time, but under Kevin O'Connell, who I think is one of the best offensive minds in football, the Vikings have had the 3rd, 4th, and 18th most pass attempts, the 2nd, 1st, and 6th most yards. So even when they had the 18th most attempts, 6th most yards because of how efficient they were, the 4th, 4th, and 5th most touchdowns in passing for those 3 seasons, and then the 3rd, 6th, and 5th most passing fantasy points. They've always been top 10 in quarterback points per game in fantasy, even while rotating Nick Mullins, Josh Dobbs, just a collection of nobodies through that season. Jaron Hall started games that year, and they were still collectively they were the quarterback 6 in fantasy points per game. Darnold was the quarterback 9 in points per game last year. And there were some bad injuries to his offensive line. They started to crumble late, and ultimately Darnold still had a very, very solid season. He went for 35 touchdowns and 4,300 passing yards. And J.J. McCarthy, if all things, he's not a guarantee to outplay Darnold, but he has a better arm. He's got championship pedigree, winning that national title. And the camp results so far are a little bit mixed. They've been up and down so far. Some days he looks like the next Pat Mahomes, according to reporters. Others days he's making a mind-numbing interception that really gets everybody wondering, is this truly going to be the guy? So it is far from a lock, but in terms of the system, you couldn't have better with Kevin O'Connell. You don't need me to spell out the weaponry, but just to remind you, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, probably a top 5 duo. You also have TJ Hawkinson added to the mix, and Aaron Jones, very explosive pass catcher, plus Jordan Mason stabilizing the run game. And what's I think going overlooked too by a lot of people is how much they revamped this offensive line, adding Ryan Kelly in the offseason, making sure to draft high capital in the position. And they've jumped from the 18th last year to all the way to the 11th. And I honestly think PFF is underselling them, and that's the rankings I'm referring to there. So between a much better line, great weaponry, a cannon arm, a great pass catching system, I love everything about J.J. McCarthy this year. I would not be shocked if he has, like, just a few years ago when Kirk Cousins was going 4,500 and like 40 touchdowns in this scheme. If he's everything that I think he could be, J.J. McCarthy has that upside. And there's a little bit of Konami. The one last piece of him is, we love that Konami rushing upside with our quarterbacks. He's not certainly going to confuse anybody for Jayden Daniels, but there are rumblings that they clocked him in. He didn't run the combine because he was hurt that year. I know you got to take this with a grain of salt. It's the Michigan coaching staff, but apparently ahead of camp where they time all their players, he ran a 4.48 in the 40, which is insane. Like, that would be faster than Jayden Daniels. I know, take with a gigantic grain of salt, but he does. You saw it at Michigan when he can leak out. He's got some great speed down the scheme. You're not going to really design a ton for him, but when the pocket's collapsing and he needs to get upfield, you could have some of those sneaky 20-point rushing or rather 20-yard scrambles, and boom, another 2 points are added to your fantasy day. I think that goes a little bit overlooked with J.J. McCarthy. There actually is some rushing upside here.
Yeah, I actually, it's good that you're reminding me of what a sleeper is, because I saw McCarthy and I was just like, okay, so what we're looking for here, we're looking for an avenue where this guy could potentially really pay off if you take a stab at him. And that's written all over the guy, in my opinion. It reminds me of the Eagles quarterback situation back when Michael Vick came back. I remember I snagged him with the last pick in one of my drafts one time because I was just like, there is a world where this guy ends up running this team and scores 1 million points. And I can see that with J.J. McCarthy too. Absolutely.
Yeah, he'll never run as much as Michael Vick, no doubt about it. But but there is an avenue to throwing 4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns. There really is with J.J. McCarthy. Plus, you add 300 to 400 on the ground too. You're talking about a top 6 quarterback season, no doubt about it, if that happens. A lot of ifs, but yeah, you're talking last round pick that could end up blowing up. I really think J.J. is the best bet at quarterback this year.
Well, you got another quarterback on this list, and I'm wondering I'm just wondering your thoughts on him, because I get it, and at the same time, I want to roll my eyes.
I know. We alluded to this on our first round stream yesterday where we both love Brian Thomas Jr., but there is a glaring question mark, and that is Trevor Lawrence, who's really done just so underwhelming throughout his entire NFL career so far. This is the final straw for me. And I've never really been a Trevor Lawrence guy. It's not like he's actually hurt me in fantasy because we've never really gone in on him. I've never liked what I saw from him. I always thought he was timid. I always thought he locked onto his first read too much. And just overall, he's soft. I don't love Trevor Lawrence, the player, from what I've seen so far. But I don't want to judge him on that Urban Meyer year. Doug Peterson got fired after a couple seasons. He's fine, but nothing special. What I really am intrigued by is this new hire of Liam Cohen, who we talked about yesterday with Brian Thomas, moves his receivers all over the place, gives layup opportunities to both his receivers and his quarterbacks. A lot of the hype this year is Trevor Lawrence could be this year's Baker Mayfield, and a big part of that is Liam Cohen was the guy that squeezed out a top 3 quarterback season out of Baker Mayfield last year. And that's where it's like, okay, I do believe in Baker Mayfield more than Trevor Lawrence. I always liked Baker more as a player, as a teammate. I thought he brings a lot more to the table. So I don't think it's a linear, just you can connect these dots and say this is exactly what happens. But there are a lot of traits with Trevor Lawrence that we saw with Baker Mayfield, in terms of Baker Mayfield had never been a top 15 quarterback until we saw Liam Cohen come, and he really helped squeeze it out. And the big thing is, again, we talk about the Konami upside, where they've already had Liam Cohen come in and say, let's get you used to using your legs a little bit more. Like, you can run. So much of what made us successful with Baker was his ability to run to make plays. So that's what we've been working hard at with Trevor Lawrence. So boom, you already have that where he had Baker Mayfield set career highs in rushing, over almost 400 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. Just adding that would be humongous for him. Plus, you have Brian Thomas, Travis Hunter, who I truly believe is the best receiver of this rookie class and will make insane plays all over the field. You got great weaponry. You got more Konami upside. It is just a matter of, and a perfect play caller in Liam Cohen. It is a matter of, does Trevor Lawrence actually have it? Well, at one point, he was considered the best quarterback prospect since Peyton Manning. There are plays where you're watching it and he throws it and it floats off his hand and it lands right in the breadbasket. Wow, where is this Trevor Lawrence every single Sunday? You have those spike weeks where he's had 30-point days. He's had 25-point weeks. It's a matter of, can it all come together with this type of weaponry, with this type of play caller? I'm still on the fence. I do prefer J.J. McCarthy as a sleeper, but if it does all come together, and you're asking a lot of things to come together, but if it does, Trevor Lawrence really could be a top 7 quarterback in fantasy. So I love him as a quarterback 2 stash that you see what happens, especially if you wait on the position. Let's say you really do punt and you just go J.J. and Trevor Lawrence. Maybe you're playing matchups all year and they both hit. You can find out what happens there. I do think, though, there's a little bit of untapped upside, and I think Liam Cohen and these weapons are going to really just tap right into it and potentially turn around Trevor Lawrence's career.
I mean, I agree with you. There's untapped upside. I think it'd be impossible to argue with that. I mean, the expectations for him coming out of college could not have been higher.
Right.
They couldn't. And he did get a raw deal with some pretty, especially the Urban Meyer era, some absolutely terrible coaching partnerships. But I mean, every now and then he'll throw one of these balls or he'll make a play and everyone's like, see, this, and then you just don't get it often enough. Right. I agree with you. And honestly, if I need a quarterback and I got to pick in the last round of the draft, I could totally see taking a stab on this guy. It's just I could never invest anything real in him because I just don't believe it. There's a Kyle Pitts stink on him. It's kind of like that for me.
I fully agree with you, too. And that's why I can't enter the season with Trevor Lawrence as my only or my number one quarterback. Like he could be my backup guy that I then see if he pans out. I think he's going to go undrafted in a lot of leagues like Baker last year and then end up after like 2 big blow up weeks. The other thing, too, I should have mentioned is that division is just ripe for like gross shootouts all the time. Like those defenses suck. All the offenses are kind of sneaky. If Cam Ward's good for the Titans, if CJ Stroud can rebound, I guess the Texans do have a decent defense, but it's still like, it's not insane. And the Jags defense stinks, so they're going to need to be chasing points. I think the Colts defense is trash. And of course, the Titans defense is the worst in the league. So I think you could just get a lot of those like random division games that blow up for 70 total points. And Trevor Lawrence being a big part of those.
Yeah, agree. I'm looking forward to seeing how it pans out. And honestly, there's at least a small part of me that's kind of pulling for the guy, not because I really like him, but because I love BTJ so much, and I know that to some degree they're a package deal.
Exactly. That's true too. If I have BTJ all the way up at 9 after yesterday's ranking show,
Yeah,
I gotta have to have at least a little faith that Trevor Lawrence can be competent, if not and if he's really good, then boom, then Brian Thomas Jr. breaks fantasy. Travis Hunter's insane in his 6th or 7th round price, and that world exists. How likely does it hit? Maybe I said it at like 30%, 20% probably. A chance that Trevor Lawrence really does explode, but I really do believe in Liam Cohen. I know my boy Duck coming over from Kentucky, like he loves Liam Cohen as well. And I'm a huge believer. What really convinced me on him, truth, was like last year, Godwin gets hurt. Evans misses 3 weeks. The offense still was averaging like 28 points per game. And Cade Otton, do you remember that when like Cade Otton became like the best tight end in fantasy football? He just, whatever he has to work with, Liam Cohen makes it work. And he's got some real good stuff to work with here. The other big issue is the line, though. Like the Jags line could stink and Lawrence could just get crushed and get hurt like he often does. That is a worry. But there are the path, like it's one of those things where it's like you like to call it either a small miss or a huge win. Like if you miss, whatever, you brick on your.
It's not a big deal.
But if it hits, like it could hit humongous with Trevor Lawrence. And we'll talk about another Jag in a little bit. I just think this team really has a lot of untapped upside.
Agree. And I think, he's an example, and there's a ton of examples of guys like this, I think, in the league right now, quarterbacks that could just absolutely blow up and have gigantic numbers. And so just, I'm pivoting a tiny bit from what we're talking about right now because of that, because there's such a deep well of quarterbacks that could potentially put up big numbers. You would advocate holding off on snagging one, right?
Yeah, that's one of and that's a great point. And I talk about that in the guide a lot. As much as I love Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and last year I was all about getting the onesies because those guys were falling to mid-round 3. You could secure your bell cow. You could get an elite target hog. Those guys are now going in the top 20 or so picks. And as much as I love them, you're not going to ever regret having those guys on your team. There are about 16 to 17 quarterbacks where I'm like, okay, I could go into the season. And that does not include Trevor Lawrence or J.J. McCarthy.
Right,
those are
exactly.
Like 18 and 19. These are quarterback twos. So there's like 17 guys above them that I'm like, okay, yeah, I can go into my season and be happy with these guys as my quarterbacks. So, yeah, especially this year, that is a change in this year's strategy and guide that I talked about, where I am much more – I always was a wait on quarterback guy for our first 5 or 6 years doing this. Then you got these unicorns, and now Jaden Daniels can be added to that list that are just becoming such cheat codes. But you can still pluck a few of those, whether it's Drake May, Justin Fields. Again, guys that I like over both these guys we talked about. I just wouldn't qualify them as sleepers. They go a little too early. There are still a few unicorns out there. Plus, there's a great section. I always reference Ryan Heath over at Fantasy Points. He's one of the best up-and-coming minds between either the Konami upside or what he calls the McShanny quarterbacks, which are quarterbacks that are coming either from exactly McVay or Shanahan, where you have Purdy and Stafford, or people that are branches from their tree. And Liam Cohen is from the McVay tree there. And so ultimately, those guys have been the cheat codes, whether you find rushing upside or whether you just draft a McShanny quarterback. Well, both J.J. McCarthy and Trevor Lawrence are new quarterbacks in a pause there. Are you there, Truth?
I am. You froze on mine, but I think I probably froze on yours. Yeah,
we both froze. So we're back. Right. Perfect segue, too, because we just finished quarterback. So
yeah, let's get into the guy that you said. You said this guy's going to win leagues. So make your case.
Yeah, so we move on to the running back position. And I do think we talked about how for a sleeper to qualify as a hit, it just has to be useful. But the real like home run winners, that grand slam, you're every week starting them, they're getting you 15 plus points a week. I think Jaydon Blue could be that for the Cowboys. I am so excited about him. He is my just overall favorite sleeper of 2025 and the guy that I'm going to just really stamp as if I had to pick one, like Bucky Irving for last year, if I had to pick one, it's Jaydon Blue for the Cowboys. You can just talk about the skill set first. He blazed a 4.38 40 at the combine, insane speed, and then followed that up with a 4.25 40 at his pro day, which I know pro days you take a little bit of a grain of salt, but he mentioned he had a little groin injury when he ran the 4.38, which would have been spectacular. You don't need to do better than that. And then he flashed even more speed. And it wasn't just time speed. You see it at Clemson where he ripped a 77-yard touchdown when they were facing Clemson, Texas over there. He had multiple other 30-plus yard scores. But in addition to that, he also runs through contact really well. 73% of his rush yards were after contact. That was number one in the class. 4.0 yards after contact per rush were fourth in this class. 3.4 yards per carry when hit at or behind the line of scrimmage. That was number one. So he makes things happen even when he's getting hit in the backfield. He ultimately only had 134 carries, but he took those for 730 yards, 5.4 pop, 8 touchdowns. And then also really thrives as a receiver. I mean, there's a clip that you should see, Truth, of him in Cowboys camp where he like leans back. It's true like Odell Beckham, like deep down the field, catches one-handed. He is a genuine receiver in terms of his route tree, in terms of his hands. He had a 25% target rate last year, number 2 in the class, and he ran in the slot 16% of the time, which was number 1. So he's got all the routes at his disposal. He hauled in 368 yards and another 6 TDs. So it's one of those guys where he's sure he was a little bit limited in college. He peaked out at right around 190 touches. And on those touches, he had 14 touchdowns. Every time the ball was in his hands, it was electric. So we got the playmaker, and now where does he land? Goes to the Cowboys, and they took him over guys like DJ Giddens, Ollie Gordon, these guys that you would think would be true feature backs that could shoulder all the workload. They said, no, we prefer Jaydon Blue, despite the rest of our depth chart being Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams. I mean, could you ask for an easier depth chart to climb to the top of? It is pathetic. Both of those guys are 2 of the worst running backs in the league. They should not be starting for any NFL teams. And so all Blue has to do is show up and look decent, and he'll pop. Now, how has he shown up and looked? So far, we've got the quote. There was a quote at one point where he was quote unquote borderline lazy, and that's caused his price to drop.
Jeez.
And I don't think his price has recovered since then. And that was some random ex-Cowboys running back coach from like 30 years ago. And since then, all the quotes have so far been, I'll read you a few of these. Hard to ask for a much better first week of camp, making the play every single day of camp, effortlessly gets to his top speed. These are the beat writers. Then you ask the coach about him. And this is what head coach Brian Schottenheimer said: the speed, the dynamic playmaker, the dual threat guy. You can hand him the ball. He doesn't need a lot of space to make guys miss. His acceleration's uncanny. His ability to get to top speed is unique. He is such a talented young man. What I like is his professionalism, the way he's shown up for camp, kind of taking a jab at that lazy quote. He then says, he reminds me of a larger version of Darren Sproles, and I don't use that lightly.
Wow.
Which is, I knew you as soon as you heard the Darren Sproles.
Love a good Darren Sproles comp.
What else do you need? Meanwhile, when asked about Javonte Williams, he starts out with, and that's like already like your guttural reaction is, like, I don't even need to tell you much more about the quote, but he says, experience and wisdom. I know he's not a real older player, but he's been through some things in the league. So you see a really good level of maturity with this guy. The most, you really see that the most when he's helping his teammates. Yeah. Okay. So we have larger Darren Sproles, an uncanny acceleration and insane top end speed from the coach. And then we have, wisdom. I think I know which running back I want.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Also, I mean, as far as, he did say, not that he's one of the older players. Isn't Javonte Williams probably like 24 or something?
Yeah, exactly. He's not even that old. He's been in the league for like
I feel like he hasn't been around that long.
Exactly. So to me, it's just the perfect, like, if you win this bet, you're getting, I don't want to say it's a tough comparison to draw, because you know how much I love Jahmyr Gibbs. And I know that this is not even close. Even if he hits at his highest level, Jaydon Blue is never going to be Jahmyr Gibbs. But we're talking about elite speed, elite receiving, and a very good offense, potentially a top 10 offense in this league. It is like a diet Jahmyr Gibbs if it hits all the way. And so far, it seems to be smashing, and his price really isn't going up at all. I imagine, he had a bruised heel, or a bruised heel, yeah. And that kind of sidelined him for a couple days. He didn't play in the first preseason game. Sounds like he's fully back over that and should be playing in week 2. I'll tell you, if he rips like a 50-yard touchdown out of nowhere, this guy's going to start going in round 8 or 9. So I'm loading the bags up in best ball as long as I can. And maybe that never happens and his price stays low. I think he's going to be it's just a potential elite playmaker, a very easy to ascend depth chart, and an offense that I think is going to be chasing points time and time again. I really love this Jaydon Blue kid, and if I had to pick one sleeper out of this whole list that I feel the best about, it would definitely be him.
All right. You've given me a lot to think about, honestly. I mean, I'm always looking for guys like that could carry the day. My big fear about somebody like that is you draft him, he doesn't play for 4 weeks or something like that.
Right.
You lose your nerve. Then he comes in and he's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Right when you cut him, he goes into he is a league winner out of the stretch. So you might need some patience. He is a rookie.
Right.
He probably won't just be handed the job. But again, when Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders actually worries me a little bit more than Javonte because when he flashes, he actually looks okay. Javonte, as good as he was his rookie year, the tackle churner, he just has never looked the same. It's unfortunate because I really loved Javonte Williams as a player. Ever since the injury, though, he has been one of the least efficient backs by any metric you want to look at. Sanders hasn't been a ton better, but I could see if they really wanted a veteran to start the year, maybe Sanders is the one that – I don't even mind him as a last-round stab, to be honest. It's a backfield, these ambiguous backfields we talk about where everybody's cheap and somebody could emerge because the offense is good. Well, this is the perfect example of it. I'm just going to take the stab at the rookie that's extremely exciting.
Okay, cool. Looking forward to seeing how it plays out. I will probably get some Jaydon Blue stock before it's said and done. Now, this next guy on your list, you're going to have to – I'm in the dark. So completely I knew who Blue was. Obviously, I know who both of the first two quarterbacks were and know a little bit about them. And honestly, this might be the only name on the list that I just didn't have any background knowledge on at all. So give it to me.
Bhayshul Tuten, baby. Scootin'.
Oh, we talked about him. Rootin' Tootin'.
Rootin' Tootin', baby.
Okay. All right. I do know a little bit about him. All right. Just for some reason, seeing the name in print, it didn't jump off the page to me. But as soon as you said it, I was like, oh, I know exactly who he's talking about.
Exactly. He is. If it wasn't Jaydon Blue, if I had to stake my sleeper card on anybody else, Bhayshul Tuten would be the next one. A lot of similarities there between the two. So I guess there's a reason why I love them both. Another ambiguous backfield where all the backs are going after 90 or so in an offense that if Trevor Lawrence pans out, if Liam Cohen is the real deal with the Jags here, then I think this offense could take a big step forward. And I think he is, Bhayshul Tuten, the most exciting guy here. I'd never liked Travis Etienne. I've faded him nearly every year. It's burned me only once.
I know. One time we got burned.
Exactly. Tank Bigsby has been reportedly really good in camp, and he had a ton of good efficiency metrics. He's fine as an early down plotter, could probably be a good touchdown guy. He'll be involved. But ultimately, if somebody's going to truly smash out of this backfield, I think it's Bhayshul Tuten by a mile. He's the handpicked guy by Liam Cohen. And you look at some of the similarities where a lot of people are calling him maybe the next Bucky Irving. Well, that's exactly who Liam Cohen had last year. I know they're very different in terms of just first glance. Bucky Irving has that great patience and just such a natural with the ball in his hand as a runner. But what they both do so well is churn through contact. So career yards after contact per attempt, Bhayshul Tuten is in the 96th percentile. Career missed tackles first per touch, 98th percentile. And athleticism, that's the thing, is Bucky Irving was 92nd percentile after contact rate, 99th percentile missed tackle rate as well. So very similar in terms of what does Liam Cohen value? Clearly somebody that can churn through contact, make things happen even after they're hit. And so ultimately, Bhayshul Tuten is right up there in his tackle churning. But the difference between him and Bucky Irving is Bhayshul Tuten is an absolute freak athlete. He had a 9.55 RAS score, relative athletic score, due to his 4.32 40. He had a 40.5 vertical leap, which is just insane for a running back. Ultimately, 206 pounds isn't huge, but all of that combined was 9.55. Compared to Bucky Irving, which was a 2.3 RAS, we're talking 99th percentile for Bhayshul Tuten. We're talking bottom 20th percentile. And maybe you're like, okay, well, does this relative athletic score matter that much if Bucky Irving had a low one and look what he did? And I don't overvalue them. It's just a pointed comparison that if this guy is an elite tackle churner, but also a freak athlete, and Liam Cohen is phenomenal at designing the space for these guys. I know you had Bucky Irving, you saw the screens, the wide open rushing lanes. There'd be times where Rachaad White would get those, and you're like, if this was Bucky Irving, he's going to the house. And Rachaad White's getting tackled at the 3-yard line. That's how good this scheme is, though. The McVay-inspired zone running scheme. So you got those wide lanes, plus the screens. They marry the pass and run. is what that whole offense is predicated on. And I think Bhayshul Tuten could really, really be solid. He does have a fumbling issue, and that could be a concern. He had 9 fumbles across his last 2 seasons of college. There was a report that, his first day of OTAs, he fumbled, and, Liam Cohen was pissed, but he said, we'll use this as a teaching moment. But ultimately, we're talking about a freak athlete in an offense, I think, takes it ascension with a play caller that uses his running backs very well. And in the first week of the preseason, Tuten was very impressive. 8 touches, 40 yards from scrimmage. He had this tackle-churning touchdown where he was hit behind the line of scrimmage, probably 8 yards out from there, and he just continued to pound his way forward. He's a natural pass catcher as well. He had 2 catches for 16 yards in that game. So between the side, like not a huge guy, but the speed, the hands, the offensive system that is just great at generating space for its backs, I think Bhayshul Tuten, he's going to be one you will need more. Whereas I could see Jaydon Blue potentially starting from week 1. I do think like Tank Bigsby or Travis Etienne, those guys will probably be starting the year. But I think by week 3, 4, you can have some patience. You can stash this guy on your bench. You're going to be getting an extremely explosive running back that goes nuts down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about freak athlete, and you talked about his vertical and how that's really good for a running back. I mean, that's really good for an NBA player.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Insane. 40 and a half vertical. Like, it just like shows you, and yeah, sure, you're like, okay, well, why does that matter when a running back's not going to be leaping up? And okay, fine. But it just shows you like the explosiveness. It's kind of a way to measure just how much this guy can spring and fly, Look,
it might not have specific applications as a running back, but it sure doesn't hurt.
No, does not hurt at all.
All right, well, let's get into it. Let's keep going down the list.
All right, the last running back sleeper. This is a bit deeper. This is more of a handcuff play for sure. I don't expect this guy to do anything if there's no injuries. I shouldn't say doesn't do anything. I think he could be so explosive that you might have to keep him on the field. That's Keaton Mitchell, who you can see the trend here. A lot of fast guys on teams that can really maximize the speed. Keaton Mitchell, as a rookie, led the entire NFL, 8.4 yards per carry, 47 carries to turn those into 396 yards and 2 touchdowns. And if you remember watching this kid, it was like between him and Devon Achane, they're trading blows as who is the most explosive rookie runner in this class, maybe in the entire NFL. And that translates to what he did in college. He led college football in 15-plus yard runs. He had a 7.2 collegiate yards per carry. He can catch the ball. He had 8.9% target share in college, 70th percentile for that. Unfortunately, he had a catastrophic knee injury his rookie year, just as he was getting cooking. And ultimately, he then it took him about a year, they're saying. Like last year, just didn't really have that explosiveness. Didn't really seem to be the same guy that he was his rookie season. That again, he had so this is a crazy stat. Actually, I want to reference that rookie season one last time. On only 47 carries, he trailed only Devon Achane and Breece Hall in 40-plus yard runs that season as well. So like 47 carries, he was the 3rd most 40-plus yard runs as a rookie that year. So he was going insane, and then lost it because of that injury. Didn't lost season last year, but then all the reports, okay, he's back, clocked at 22 miles per hour in practice, which is faster than he hit his rookie season. He said himself, I feel more explosive. The speed is back. And then all the reports in camp, Jim Harbaugh saying it looked like he had the speed and the ability to adjust. Last year, you could tell he was thinking about the knee, not really playing. But this spring, I haven't seen any of that. He's really out there. And so ultimately, all these reports are great. And then the preseason hits in his first action, 9 carries, 68 yards, and a touchdown. He had back-to-back 20-yard runs, including a 22-yard scamper. And it's just one of those things, like if something happened to Henry, you're getting this type of speed, this type of playmaking ability in the Ravens run game. That could be insane. And then you have like, that's the big out is Henry getting hurt. But what if like they do decide, okay, we don't need to overwork Henry this year. I don't think this is going to happen, by the way, but there is the chance that, okay, Henry's so valuable to our playoff run. Maybe we take a little bit off his plate, and how better to do that than this explosive 3rd-year back that's ripping 22 miles per hour. Like, let's rotate him in for 8 to 10 carries a game and see what he does. I know he's behind Henry. I know Justice Hill is also really solid. The team loves him. He's going to be their 3rd down back most likely, but maybe Keaton Mitchell leaps him for the 3rd down role at a certain point. And so there's a lot of paths to maybe this guy gets the field time. And once he gets on the field, I have no question about his ability. I have no questions about this offense. So very, very deep sleeper. He's probably not going to get drafted in your redraft leagues, but in best ball going right now in like round 17 and 18, he's a guy to definitely flag on your watch list at minimum in your redraft leagues, though.
You know how there are certain players, you don't know anything about them personally or anything like that, but there's just certain guys that just really make you angry. Justice Hill is one of those guys for me. Because he's not Derrick Henry, and now he's potentially blocking this guy from getting on the field as much as he could. He just really annoys me. He could be the nicest man in the world. I have no idea, but there's just certain guys that, you just can't stand seeing them out there. It's like They always seems like they're kind of vulturing and they're in when you don't feel like they should be. You have any guys like that?
I mean, Justice Hill is a pretty good one. Travis Etienne, like, why is he ever on the field? He stinks. So, I mean, there's certainly a bunch of them. Rashad White for Bucky Irving. Like, come on.
Gosh.
Get out of here, Rashad White. Yeah, those guys are the absolute worst. Okay. Just slugs, just soaking up like volume that should be going to the far better player.
Agree. Well, I can't wait to look at your receivers here, because the first guy on your list is a guy you've successfully convinced me on in the past. I don't think you've ever gone beyond sleeper rank for him, but you've definitely thrown his name out before, whether it was in a full-on, hey, look for this guy, he could be a sleeper this year, or during one of our weekly shows where you were like, hey, guys on waivers you should check out. Marvin Mims has been a guy you've had your eye on for a while. And as a result, I've kind of had my eye on for a while. What's different now?
Yeah, great question. Always loved the talent, as you alluded to, and nothing's really convinced me to not like the talent. You look at last year on just 27% snap share, so barely plays, and that's always been the issue. Can you get on the field? Finally, at the end of the season, they say, okay, let's see what we have in the kid. He goes 8 targets, 8 catches, 103 yards, and 2 touchdowns. The next game, 5 targets, 5 catches, 51 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And you're like, oh, okay, so that's what we've been wondering. Like, you see it, and you're just wondering, why is this guy not on the field? 28 catches, 434 yards, and 6 TDs over those final 7 games. And every single time he's out there, it's elite. 2.86 yards per route run, 4th in the league. 0.74 fantasy points per route and 2.49 fantasy points per target, both second. So crazy efficiency every time he touches the rock. Bo Nix's quarterback rating was 127.3 when targeting him. And all of that just keep me clinging to him. These little glimpses of how talented I really think he is. And every time he gets the chance, he seems to be making plays. And as you asked, okay, well, what's changed though? He's always made plays. His rookie year, he had like 9 of the 10 longest plays of the Broncos season, and he still wasn't getting his role elevated. So what's different this year? It's either coach speak or preseason usage, but both of those things do allude to a bigger role for him. So coach is saying, Sean Payton, when something like this happens, you see him blow up, you're constantly thinking, are we collectively doing things to suit each player? And suggesting that he's going to have more added to his playmaking menu. And then you see in the preseason game, it wasn't insane stats or anything. He had like 1 catch for 3 yards, but he was out there for 16 to 19 snaps with Bo Nix. He ran 9 of 11 routes. There was only 3 instances last year outside of Cortland Sutton where a Broncos receiver exceeded 80% route share. I know it's only 19 preseason snaps, but he was truly out there for every single one of them other than 3. And that to me suggests like maybe he is the clear wide receiver 2. Maybe not. Maybe I'm overlooking in these 19 snaps, but to me, all he's ever needed is more time on the field, and he's always going to blow up. And every time he's been on the field, he does blow up. And so to me, and Mims himself saying, I worked really hard to expand my route tree, to do different things that the coaches asked me to. I'm looking at these different things, the big picture. I understand it better. I'm playing faster because of it. And so this late, maybe the light switch kind of went on at the end of last year. The coaches recognize it. They elevate his role. And suddenly he's the number 2 wide receiver with Bo Nix, who I do think could be like the next Drew Brees over there with Denver. I really love Bo Nix. I think he is phenomenal. To me, it's just an offense I want to bet on. This guy goes pretty much undrafted in redraft. He goes right around 140 or so in best ball. That's a guy that's a talent that I've always loved, that you alluded to. And I do think this could be the year he finally gets on the field. Maybe it's fool's gold again. Maybe he only plays 30% of the snaps and is rotating in. But the early signs so far in camp and in preseason suggest that, yeah, he is actually going to be the number 2 for this offense that I love.
And the talent's absolutely there. I'm hearing a lot of buzz about Denver, by the way. as
Yeah.
a former diehard Denver fan that just has not really been able to bring myself to be too invested in them for, I don't know, 20 years now, probably something like that. I'm interested to see how that'll play out. Real quick, just pivoting from the sleeper thing because we're talking about Bo Nix and the Broncos. Just who do you like more, Bo Nix or Drake May? Or can you not possibly answer that question objectively?
I do think in fantasy I like Bo Nix better. I know as a Patriots fan though, like a real life quarterback, I like Drake May like for my future of the franchise, and I really like Bo Nix. I think he's going to be safe and steady. But like I think if one of those two is like, oh my God, you've hit Josh Allen status, I think Drake May has a better shot to actually like truly ascend into that tier of just insane talents. Maybe that is the Patriots fan in me. But if I'm drafting today for fantasy, I do have Bo Nix. I think I have him quarterback 7, Drake May quarterback 8. Like they're back to back.
So it's a legitimate question.
Absolutely, yeah. And most people wouldn't have that. Most people have Bo Nix like right around where I have him, and then have Drake May quarterback 13, 14. So maybe that is the Patriots homerism, but I think he is going to go nuts.
All right, I'm actually kind of looking forward to watching them for the first time in a while. Next guy on the list. So I remember I shelled out a little bit in waivers for this guy one week because it just everything looked like the stars were aligning, and then they just kind of didn't. So, why do you like him this year, or why do you like him as a potential lottery ticket?
Demario Douglas, a nice segue from Drake May. I could see Demario Douglas. I know when you have Stephon Diggs added, you draft Kyle Williams up high. It might seem like blasphemy, but I could see Demario Douglas actually leading this team in targets as the slot receiver for Josh McDaniels. So far, the camp hype has been very real. The most impressive inactive wide receiver in camp, according to many writers like Taylor Kyles, who says Demario Douglas has been the Patriots' best pass catcher, and it isn't close. He looks more comfortable than ever under Josh McDaniels, consistently getting open, catching everything thrown his way, and quickly becoming Drake May's top target. And you just think Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, like it's a very easy thing to see that Josh McDaniels' slot weapons often thrive. And I went to camp, and it was insane that like they're moving him in motion. He's catching it 10 yards down the field, and there's nobody else near him because they do so well of clearing that space out and the other receivers' routes that whoever is that slot guy is going nuts. You have Drake May saying you can't guard this guy in a phone booth. You have Mike Vrabel saying, I love the guy. I love his attitude. I love his spirit. He loves to practice. He loves the game. He loves football. He keeps getting better. He's picked up everything we ask him to do. And to be one of Vrabel's guys is important. This is the new coach, and this guy has endeared himself to both McDaniels and Mike Vrabel here. So I think at minimum, you're looking at 100-ish targets for the slot weapon. I obviously prefer Stephon Diggs. I think Diggs does lead this team in targets, leads this team in catches. But if I believe in Drake May the level I do, he should be able to carry at least a couple wide receivers with him and or tight ends. And I think it's going to be Demario Douglas. A lot of that is me reacting from the practice I saw, but the way he was just gashing the Commanders in 11-on-11, being the favorite target. You have like about a drive to start. And in that first drive, he was the target on 4 of the first 8 throws. Like he was just a clear first read guy. He probably had 45 yards in like 2 drives of action. It was insane how this guy was just knifing through the entire defense. He looks like he's at another level of speed. It is just that kind of perfect, crafty route runner that is going to be perfect for this Josh McDaniels slot role. So I love Demario Douglas. He's going like the 190s right now. In redraft, he goes around the 140 to 150 range in best ball. And I think he's going to smash.
How much of him do you own in best ball? A ton?
So unfortunately, like, because I'm a psycho and I draft so early, I wasn't really in on Demario Douglas in like the early half of the drafts, but he's become the guy that I'm hitting like in every single draft moving forward. So I'm probably at about like 15-ish%. I would love that to be like 30 to 40%. I wish I had been on him a little bit earlier. I just am such a psycho and did way too many drafts too fast and did not have him on my radar till recently.
It's all right. I know you'll make up for that with volume.
I have to get him up to 30%, so I just have to keep drafting.
Right.
It's the way I justify it.
You have to do twice as many drafts, that means.
Exactly, right.
So, all right. So I like him a lot. That's going to be interesting also. I said this just when we were talking about Mims a minute ago. I really am actually looking forward to watching the Patriots this year. And I'm almost never looking forward to watching the Patriots.
I know. I can't wait. After these last couple of seasons where it should just like rip your eyeballs out, it really did. And it was sad because, football Sundays were all about Pats. You'd have Red Zone on another TV. And of course, you love Red Zone too, no doubt about it. But it got to the point in the last 2 years where it's like I watch a drive of Patriots action. I just put on Red Zone. I don't even bother watching it because it's just going to infuriate me. And I know that might make me sound like a horrendous fan, but the product they were putting on the field was not worth my time on a Sunday. I'd rather watch Red Zone all day than deal with getting angry about my Patriots. So I'm so excited. They go into that practice, Truth, where it was like Drake May carving up the Commanders, Mike Vrabel diving into a scrum and bleeding. And like, it was just like all the vibes at Gillette. Everyone's going nuts. The defense was stuffing Jaden Daniels every single time. It just felt like, oh, we're back. Like, this is the Gillette air that I remember, not this horrendous product we dealt with for the last 2 seasons. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I get it. Next guy on the list, so I actually brought him up to you last year in the preseason. I was like, hey, there's a value hole here. Keep an eye on this guy. How come you're low on this guy? And you were like, oh, you're making really good points, Truth. And you kind of were like, maybe I'll get a little Josh Palmer. Maybe I'll elevate him a little. And I think you may have even done that. And then I just, it didn't work out.
It didn't work out largely because the Chargers were just so run heavy. And then McCarthy just did everything Josh Palmer could do way better than Josh Palmer did it. And that's why it's an interesting, like, especially with like him, Demario, Douglas, these aren't these crazy talents. It's not like Marvin Mims where they're exploding all over the field. And when they touch the ball, you're like, why is this guy not getting more touches? But what Palmer does do very well is he's very savvy. He knows where the soft spots are. He knows how to run his routes. He knows how to build timing with his quarterbacks. And what have the Bills lacked? They have Khalil Shakir, who does all that very well. But other than him, they have not had a consistent wide receiver too. And Shakir just had as a high ankle sprain, and he's week to week. They think he's going to be ready for week 1, but this is an ankle he's already injured multiple times before. A slot wide receiver that relies on shiftiness. Ankle's pretty important there. So whether it's Khalil Shakir suffering a re-aggravation, whether he's not ready for week 1, at minimum, it's given Palmer this new runway to really establish that rapport with Josh Allen. And I mean, who better do you want to throw you the rock than Josh Allen? He's been called, Josh Palmer, so far, a magnet for Josh Allen so far. He's been a staple on offense. He's smooth, moving quickly and effortlessly, specializing in separation are some of the reports we're seeing. All early indications that Palmer will be a staple and could be a sneaky candidate to lead the receivers in snaps. And so, I mean, at minimum, maybe the number 2 wide receiver. If Khalil Shakir is out, potentially the number 1 for Josh Allen, but he's going 190, wide receiver 73. I think that's just a no-brainer. And if you watch Hard Knocks, I don't know if you've seen it at all yet, Truth, but these guys are like staying after practice every day, working on their go routes, working on the route tree. That's kind of, you read that about Palmer with LA, that he was always that guy to stay after, work with his quarterbacks, make sure he put in that time to really build the chemistry. And we're seeing that with Josh Allen right now as well. And I think that's going to go very, very far. He'll be a steady weapon for Josh Allen. And what better than that in the 190s? I mean, give that to me all day.
Yeah, I agree. The argument for him, and it's basically the argument I made for him last year and the argument people have made for him in the past, it was just basically like, well, they got to throw the ball to somebody. And it seems like now this is a little bit more of a ringing endorsement for him than just like, well, you got to throw the ball to somebody. Also, we probably think Josh Allen, big upgrade from Herbert. A lot of people are starting to be out on Herbert.
I'm not out yet. I'm excited to see what he does this year. That playoff performance was so pathetic against the Texans. Real tail between the legs. Oh, yeah. But I still think we haven't seen the best of Herbert. We'll see this year for sure. Before we get to the tight ends, though, guys, I did want to just quickly pump. You guys have heard me reference it, the 2025 Fantasy Football Draft Guide. You can see the cover here, but after going number 6 in 2024 accuracy, number 2 in multi-year accuracy, you can really get into my fantasy soul here. Of course, you have the streams. The rankings are free. Everything we do is free other than this. So if you do want to support your guy, go to rotostreetjournal.com. Draft Guide is right there at the top on the menu, and you can check this out. If you like these sleepers, I got at least 20 more of them for you. I'm giving you, my 10 favorite right now, but I have another 10 who I like nearly as much as these guys, and then another few guys to consider in really deep leagues and dynasty leagues as well. Every round by round, targets, fades, the overarching strategy. Are we back to bell cow, elite quarterbacks, elite tight ends? What are we doing? What do we prioritize? All that is in here, 170 pages of analysis for you good folks. So if you want to support your boy, this is the way to do it. And if you want a free way to support your guy, though, just a thumbs up button right now, a like, a share, a retweet, and a subscription to the channel. That would cost you nothing. And so it's a free way to help us continue to grow the channel. We greatly appreciate you being here for one of my favorite shows every year, The Sleepers.
The question is there going to be a Roto Street Journal fantasy football guide curse? Is Jahmyr Gibbs in some way going to feel it from being our featured athlete on the cover?
No curse here. I'm trying to remember. Oh, actually, well, I think Bruce Hall might have been on the cover last year. So actually, maybe there is a curse. Be wary.
Man, God, I want your picks to all be right, and at the same time, I would love it if there was a somewhat of a Roto Street Journal curse that got out into the mainstream media.
I would, yeah, right. ESPN, make sure to not draft Gibbs because he's got the roast cover over here. Right. I'll start putting like Travis Etienne on the cover instead.
Right, just to yeah, good idea. All right, let's get into tight ends and then let's get into our TV draft. Zach Ertz. I see the name and I'm reflexively not excited. Get me excited.
It's kind of hard to get excited. I mean, you couldn't be much older or crustier than Zach Ertz, and like sleeper, you want the exciting, the young guy, the breakout, the one that's going to go bananas. But we'll talk about this 35-year-old tight end that last year finished 8th in targets at the position, 91, 6th in catches, 66, 4th in touchdowns with 7, 7th in total PPR fantasy points. And he's the tight end 20 right now in drafts because he's old and crusty. We're talking about Jaden Daniels' security blanket right now, especially without Terry McLaurin. In fact, Henry McKenna of the Washington beat scene said, without McLaurin on the field, Zach Ertz has been so far Jaden Daniels' security blanket to get the passing game going in joint practices. Lots of quick passes over the middle. And I saw that at Pat's camp. He was peppered relentlessly over there. And you think about it, it's like, yeah, again, not exciting, but Kingsbury loves this guy. Cliff Kingsbury, their offensive coordinator. He was the tight end 5 his last healthy season with Kingsbury before coming over to the Commanders there. Tight end 6 in fantasy points per game before he got hurt in 2022. And then 2023 was kind of, he was old, he was bouncing around. He was kind of hurt. But then last year we had that top 7 tight end finish. So 5, 6, and 7 as his finishes under Cliff Kingsbury these last few years in fantasy points per game. And then you look at the playoff stretch, and this is where it is like, maybe you can get actually excited about Zach Ertz. His final 11 games, he put up 18 PPR points, 15, 12, 4.5, 2.2. Yeah, duds. Okay, it happens at tight end. 25 points, 15 points, 4.3, 13, and 21. So like multiple, and when you look at that list, 70% of those were top 12 tight end weeks. And 3 of those were top 3 tight end weeks as well for Zach Ertz. And that last game, the playoff game, he had 16 targets, 11 catches, and 104 yards. I mean, that is pretty insane. And so, yes, it's hard to get excited about Zach Ertz, but it's not hard to get excited about Jaden Daniels. It's not hard to get excited about Jaden Daniels is potentially number 2 weapon on this team. Deebo Samuel probably going to be the number 1 if McLaurin holds out. I imagine McLaurin gets paid and they have Deebo and McLaurin, but then you still have Zach Ertz, who's been so reliable in the red zone over the middle of the field to convert those third downs. So to me, it's I guess a less better Ertz. Like he's not that exciting, but he knows where to go. He's veteran savvy. He's a big body in the red zone. When I saw him at camp, I was just like, who is this guy? Like, he is humongous. Oh, my God, that's Zach Ertz. Like, he was moving very, very well for a 35-year-old tight end. So I can bet on this offense, and I can bet on, at worst, the number 3 in this game, and maybe the number 2 and real security blanket for Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't have to be that great to be a top 8, 6 tight end. We know that. So
yes,
it could happen. Absolutely. In the games you just rattled off end of the season, large sample size and definitely a lot more good than bad, and some really, really good. So I get it.
Yeah, exactly. So some steadiness there. If you want a more exciting tight end sleeper, I did want to balance him out.
All right, let's end with somebody exciting.
We'll go with an exciting rookie to me, Elijah Arroyo. And not just because I can go Arroyo, like a wolf howl with his name. I absolutely love this talent, though. He fell to 50th overall in the draft, but GM John Schneider for the Seahawks saying, had he not got hurt his senior year, he expected him to be a top 15 pick because of how special he is. And he is truly an insane athlete. 250-pound man that clocked a 21.8 miles per hour run last season. Only 6 NFL players, none were tight ends, hit that. Xavier Worthy's top speed, the fastest 40 time ever, was 21.46 last year, and Arroyo had 21.8, faster than anything Xavier Worthy logged on an NFL field. 9.1 yards after the catch per reception in 2024. Top 6 among all power conference tight ends since 2015. 96th percentile there. 27% of his targets came 20 yards or more downfield. So he is perfect for this inspired. It's the Clint Kubiak is now the play caller for the Seahawks, and he has that classic play action game where you establish the run and then you use that to go deep, kind of like in the mold. It's modeled after what they do with George Kittle over there with the 49ers. And I'm not at all saying Arroyo's about to be the next George Kittle, but he's an athletic freak that's going to be streaking all over the place. And head coach Mike McDonald after the draft said, Elijah Arroyo, he can run an extensive route tree. He can split out wide and do X receiver type things. You're talking about his tight end here. Bigger body than what we probably have on the roster, just provides a ton of value. And then he's going to go in there as an actual inline tight end, create some of those bigger personnel formations. That's what the vision we have for him. Very, very exciting is the quote from their head coach McDonald there. And so they cut Noah Fant. It's not just puff quotes. They cut Noah Fant for this guy, really giving him that path. And apparently he's in a competition right now with AJ Barner, who is fine. He's a good blocker, so he'll probably be on the field a bit. But in terms of playmaking tight ends, when you have no Metcalf here anymore, and they're talking about him potentially being their ex-wide receiver, big body guy, to send him down the field. And again, a faster speed than all but 6 players of last year on the NFL field, none of them being tight ends. Like, he just kind of redefines the mold of tight end and could be a real freak at the position. So that's the type of exciting talent that I don't mind stashing on the bench, and let's see what happens.
No, and honestly, if you're taking a stab at tight end, athletic freak is pretty much always where I start.
Right. Right. Why not? Right. Like, right. Otherwise, I guess you could go Zach Ertz. And that's what I love to do, though, is like, I like a nice Zach. If I'm really, what I want to do with tight end is I want Kittle. Like, I think Kittle's the best pick of fantasy drafts right now. If not him, you go even earlier on Bowers, because I think he's just going to be a Travis Kelce going in the top 7 for the foreseeable future, and you can get him in round 2 right now. So I like that. I want an elite tight end. But if I do punt the position, I really have no issue with going Zach Ertz. I'm going to get probably top 8 production. It's not going to be sexy. And then stashing an Elijah Arroyo or a few other of these rookies that I have in the draft guide as well. There's a lot of exciting upside at tight end late. So if you don't get one of those elite guys, you punt the position and you look at a couple of these. You pair a high floor Zach Ertz or Hunter Henry with an Elijah Arroyo. And I think you give yourself a good shot at tight end to have a nice room there.
Nice. All right. You got Arroyo on my radar now. Obviously, Ertz has been on my radar for a really long time. I can't believe the guy's still playing. But the points you made were all good ones. And those are our top 10, at least 10 of the Wolves 30 fantasy sleepers. Like you said, you like these. You're intrigued by these arguments. There's a lot more of that in the guide. It's all available. You got 30 in there, you said?
Yeah, about 30 of them. For sure. I added a few new ones after the preseason, what I saw, some Browns backfield movement, things like that too, happening right now, for sure. I know last time, and we have over 30 questions and comments right now, which I love to see. I know yesterday I was like, oh, I promise open mailbag, we'll get to y'all. And then we like just wrapped up. Josie Hills like poked Josie's head in. I was like, oh no, she must need some help. And she was just like saying, oh no, just wanted to say hi. So I do want to make sure we just quickly like say what's up to people in the comments who are taking their time to be here, helping the stream out. So feel free to ask any questions. Are you cool doing the mailbag first, Truth, or do you want to do the draft?
Let's roll through the mailbag. I could absolutely tell that Josie was a factor.
I peeked my head out. She's smiling. I was like, oh God, I gotta get off. I need to go.
One thing about your first kid, they definitely get your attention and hold your attention. You're like, oh look, everything they do is just amazing. Now that I'm just numb to the world and I've got 2 and the youngest is 10, it's like when they come into the room, I'm just like, get out.
Go those snacks for the draft. Come on.
Right. Exactly. My daughter was fetching me snacks. I actually listened to the pod last night of us, and I was just like, I was having her run all sorts of just.
I remember at one point, you're like, get the blue bag. Oh, do we have munchies over here?
Yep.
I did not, by the way, I didn't go get a Code Red and Honey Twist yet, but
I was going to ask you about that.
I have poker night coming up this week, so I'm going to make sure to bring a Code Red and Honey Twist and enjoy poker night with my throwback nostalgia snack for sure.
That's fantastic. Yeah. By the way, and I listened to the food draft back also. I think it holds up pretty well. Pretty good content.
It was great. Oh, yeah, the food draft. And Charlie Menilakis, one of our longtime favorites, saying elite snack draft. Can't wait for fruits and veggies soon. I don't think you're going to be waiting for a long time for that one, Charlie, for sure. But great to see Coach Zeke. We got Tunes with the LFG. Great to see some OG, some legendary Schneider's back, which is awesome to see. Tunes, it does ask, do you have a hit and miss of last year? Great question, Tunes. I don't have it off the top of my head. I should have just looked at who did we talk about last year, who hit, who missed. That'd be good content for the future.
Yeah, it would.
I do know off the top of my, I definitely had Bucky Irving as my sleeper running back, and so I know that was a hit for sure.
Bucky. I mean, I've brought up this fact a bunch of times, and it's painful to talk about. But I mean, I went in on Jaden Daniels, Bucky Irving, and BTJ because of content that I got from you and maybe MOH also last year. That's the whole reason I had them. Those are all bona fide massive hits. Yes.
I remember calling last year the year of the rookie wide receiver, and I think that really just overarching. The guide hit huge. I can't think of the exact sleeper list off the top of my head, but I do know we nailed the rookie receivers, saying load up on them. I was plus 30 ECR on nearly every rookie receiver out there. I know we had Jaden Daniels as the must-draft quarterback, so we did have a very good guide here. I think the biggest miss was actually early on when I was saying Jamar Chase worries me a little bit more than Amon-Ra St. Brown, and that was obviously one of the worst pieces of advice you could possibly give somebody.
The Breece Hall pick was bad.
Breece Hall was also pretty bad, yeah.
Right, and all of the guys I took on top were misses.
And you had such a good late round that it's man,
I killed it at the end.
Bijan over Breece or Jamar Chase or whoever, you would have won the title by a mile. So it is, you got to nail those early rounds. It's why we take so long on our first round draft. That's why we bookend it here. And if you guys are actually looking for more sleepers, I do want to pump out me and Tanner right after the NFL draft. We did a draft stream of the best rookie sleepers for dynasty leagues. So many of those guys they're in the guide that I wrote, but they're also really popping up in camp. Dante Thornton, Brashard Smith, a few other sleepers too. If you liked this content, go back in our channel, find the rookie sleeper show I did with Tanner, because that was a very, very good one. And a lot of my favorite sleepers do end up being rookies. And I purposely didn't put those guys on this one because we had already talked about them. So if you want a whole another list of sleepers, not just for dynasty, but for redraft, check that show out too. So Schneider saying 3 championships out of 5 leagues last year, putting my trust in the guide again. I mean, I would do the same. If 3 out of 5, if you get one, it's insane to say, but if you have 5 leagues, if you get 1 title, that's a very good year.
You've done great. If you win anything, you've done great. And I would say that these percentages for Schneider are incredible. That also suggests, just kind of circling back to Tunes' question, I mean, it suggests that there must have been quite a few hits in there.
Right, exactly. Schneider found all the good advice and used it. Truth found all the bad advice and used it.
No, I had plenty of good advice too. I had a healthy mix or unhealthy mix of both, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tunes, he did do better. BTJ did better with Mac. We talked about that yesterday as a potential concern for him being a first rounder. The other thing too, I want to keep emphasizing with him, we talked about this, Truth, is BTJ often falls to round 2, and I know in ESPN he's ranked 7th.
Yes.
So I mean, just because I have him at 8th and 9th, I talk about this in the guide. If you don't have to pay the 9th price, if you can pay the 17th pick price, pay that. Just because I value a car at $20,000, if it's going for $10,000, I'm not going to suddenly say, "Oh, can I buy it for 20?" Because that's what I value. You can find this guy in round 2 a lot. So maybe that is where, sure, I'll go Derrick Henry, who I know is not going to last to round 2, and I hope BTJ comes back. So, yeah.
I looked at the ESPN mock draft, or not mock draft. I guess their fantasy football talking heads had a draft, and I looked at the results, and BTJ went either 17th or 19th.
Oh, come on! That's a joke.
Well, I'm just telling you.
Fall out of round 1. Oh,
well,
man.
he was way out of round 1.
Yeah. What's up, Sarno? Good to see Craig Sarno, baby. Papa Sarno. Love to see it. This was one, Philip. You commented this yesterday. And as soon as I hung up, I was like, oh, a good comment here from Philip. And I completely did not miss it. So he's mentioning high on the Bengals pieces. How many players from the same team is too many? And you're thinking in redraft too. So in best ball, really, team stacking is huge, and you should be. And I think the same does apply for redraft when you get the right teams. And the Bengals, of course, are one of those teams because they're going to be top 5 in total points. And it is condensed. What you want to look for, Philip, is there an offense that you think is going to be good, and it's also only feeding like 3 to 4 mouths? There are offenses that are, you think about the Chiefs in recent years, or the Patriots when Tom Brady was here. They're elite offenses, but they're spread out to 10 different guys, and overloading in that case, other than the core weapons of like Gronk and Edelman, it can be tough. But when you have like a Bengals where it's going to be Jamar Chase, it's going to be T. Higgins, it's going to be Chase Brown, and it's going to be Joe Burrow. Like, those are the only guys that matter, and yet there's going to be 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns probably to spread out between 4 players. I'll take all of them. Like, I have no issue with that at all. There are those weeks where it's like, oh man, the Bengals just laid a stinker, and now your whole team sucks because that does suck when that does happen. But more often than not, when you get the right team, it's like, oh, the Bengals put up 35 points for the 8th time in the last 10 weeks, and all of your players just went bananas. So it's a great philosophical question, Philip. It's certainly more valuable in best ball to stack, because when you do get those clunkers from the Bengals, well, hopefully you also stack the Jags, and that week those guys go off. You know what I mean? It's trickier in redrafts. Like, you're never benching those guys, and those points are just going to automatically leap in. But yeah, you think of those, like, look at who you project to be the top 7 or 8 offenses, and are those offenses condensed to 3 to 5 mouths? If that's the case, I have no issue taking all 3 to 5 of those players.
All of those mouths.
Yes, especially quarterback and the receivers too. Running back as well, though. It's like Chase Brown, he catches touchdowns, but also if this offense is good, it means Chase Brown's probably getting cracks at the goal line. So it's a great philosophical question, Philip. And I love to team stack for the right teams. It is funny too, because like sometimes it even works like where the crappy offenses are so condensed that it's like, okay, I'll take Bryce Young and Ted McMillan, and I think Bryce Young does okay, and I think he's going to funnel 200 looks to this rookie. So it doesn't have to be only the good offenses either. And sometimes it actually works out better when they're bad.
I feel like there's similar logic to, you remember when Nico just blew up, and we were relatively high on Nico. And it was basically like, I feel like the argument, I could be confusing him with someone else, but I feel like the argument was like, he's like the worst best receiver out there, or one of the worst best receivers on a team out there.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, take him. He's going to get tons of volume. And it turned out he's obviously not even remotely close to the worst best receiver.
Oh, no.
He's fantastic. But the logic was sound, which is like, look, you can like this guy or not, but he's the number 1 guy on this team, and he's going to get a ton of action. And he got a ton of action.
And then CJ Stroud came in and was better than anyone expected. Right. And I think, too, that illustrates a really good point. I actually talk about this in the guide a bit, too. And the macro section is some of the biggest wins in fantasy are when you can predict what team is going to take that leap. There was a year where, like, when McVay came in, where the Rams went from the actual bottom barrel 32nd offense to the first. And Todd Gurley was a league winner. Cooper Kupp blew up. They had 3 wide receivers in the top 20, and they were all going so cheap because they sucked the year before. And if you find those offenses that take those big leaps, the Dolphins just a couple seasons ago, and maybe they rebound after last year's disaster. I have a section in the guide where I try to predict, like, what are those team levels? Vikings with J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, does he become the next Drew Brees? Those type of things that you think of. That's where you really get the home runs. If you can find those offenses that as a whole, the unit just goes from like a bottom half to the top half, and boom, those guys are all cheap because they're projecting for last year when there was something, whether oftentimes a play caller, sometimes a quarterback injection that elevates everybody. A lot of times both. You can really see that. Maybe Cam Ward and the Titans this year. There's those teams that were just so god-awful that suddenly are in the top 10, and boom. Trevor, we talked about the Jags a million times today, right? Like, I think the Jags could be that team that go from bottom barrel. There's a Brian Thomas. That's a team that I would go, like Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter, because I don't know who else they throw to. So yeah, Phil, great question. We could do a whole show on that.
I know. And good question. Teams like that take a leap. And then as far as like, do you want to stack, you said some teams you want to stack. I can tell you sometimes stacking makes me nervous, but when I had that Stafford Cup stack, like 4 years ago or whatever, there's you just feel so powerful. Like when you just go into these games, you feel like you're getting out of like a big SUV with like a fur coat on and stuff
Yes.
when you show up to your games.
Yes.
I mean, you're just like, it's like printing your own money, man. It's awesome.
Exactly. Oh yeah, and those guys, the Derrick Henry walking off the bus first. You know,
Yep.
you can't overvalue those players that are just like the team aura about him. It used to be Nick Chubb, not anymore, sadly. But
I know, sadly.
those type of guys that you send first off the bus to intimidate your fantasy opponent. Kupp and Stafford was like the perfect stack of that a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, what's going on, JJ? First stream. Hey, fellas, we love when we get new folks in here. We hope you enjoyed it enough to come back and subscribe and join new streams. I feel like we get that a lot where people are like, hey, first stream, and then you see them every single Thursday.
That's great. We have good customer retention.
Yeah, we do. So great to see you, JJ. And clearly you know some ball if you know that Keaton should be the running back too. He hates Justice Hill as much as you, Truth, it sounds like.
All right. So this guy's a thinker. I appreciate that.
I love Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. I not to give away too much of the guide, but I'm happy to give you guys the value, and hopefully you just choose to buy it to support it. He's in the guide. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. He was in the rookie show X roll route that I'm referencing. I was on this guy 2 months ago, and now everybody's lighting him up in camp, and rightfully so. Sneaky will say that he might be my pick. I haven't fully sniffed it out yet, but he's giving me the next Bucky Irving vibes. I'll just put it that way. A depth chart that's easy to ascend, a talent that's really popping and looking explosive. JJ Walsh agrees as well. I'm getting very much the next Bucky Irving vibes from this kid. I really enjoy him. What does Papa have? He likes Mims too. Love it. Love the agreement here. Next, Drew Brees because Sean Payton's there. Nice point. Yeah, you see the connections. And he also, JJ, he worked out with Drew Brees for a bit this offseason. And what Brees came away saying was like, I was impressed with the kid's arm. I was more impressed with how much of my brain he wanted to understand, how he wanted to like understand the thought processes and how I work. And that's what I love about Bo Nix. Like, he's not the craziest arm talent in the league, but he's so accurate. And that's exactly what you look at Drew Brees, that point guard that just knows how to read defenses and takes it to that next level. Just when I'm out, Mims pulls me back in. And popping, people loving the pop call. I love how interactive the chat is today. You know, we usually get like 20-ish or so comments. We got like 50 of you guys.
We had more viewers yesterday, but the mailbag is a lot livelier today.
Yeah, the mailbag's popping. I know the views spiked when we went to the snack food draft. So maybe
we'll see. Maybe the TV draft will suck in a couple hundred extras.
For sure. So say Pop is getting 1,000 yards. Tunes, I love the call. Tunes was an early Puka doctor. So when Tunes has a receiver he likes, I'm in on it for sure. Right. Tar Heel Homer, Drake May's the truth. Let's go, Charlie. My one of my favorite students at school bought a Drake May like UNC jersey. I think it's one of the coolest jerseys I've ever seen. Like he's so proud of it, and I was like, "Yeah, Sid, you're the man."
I love when kids at the school here have just random jerseys on. Like Drake May, it's cool, but I mean, you know, even here in Western Mass, it's still Patriots country. I love it when you just see like a completely random guy. Like there was a kid the other day that just had a random jersey of a guy on the Croatian national soccer team.
Love it.
And it wasn't even like there wasn't even like their best player. He was like random defender on the Croatian team. I'm like, yeah,
incredible.
Respect.
I saw a random kid in the hall last year, like a Titans Eddie George jersey. And you're how do you even know who Eddie George is?
We're going to test my brain here. Was Eddie George number 27?
You know what? I actually saw the jersey. I think he was. I can't say it with full conviction. I was going to say either 27 or 22.
Okay. Oh, it might have been 22. Yeah,
and we could both be wrong. I have no idea, but
that's a great callback, though. Good job.
It was just like Eddie George, like because I remember seeing the front of it, like a Titans jersey with like number 27 or whatever it was. Like that's not Derrick Henry's number, and they turned around.
No, it's George. A guy that retired 20 years ago.
Right. Oh yeah. Kyle Williams, more of a second or third year boom. JJ, it's an interesting one because like if you watch the preseason game, he's getting wide open off the release. He had these great routes, but Dobbs kept overthrowing him. I think the kid's very talented. You know, Steve Smith compared him to Steve Smith, and I'll take that comparison and endorsement any day of the week. But he is running clearly with the twos so far. He has not really sniffed the first team, and I hope he does because I think the kid is a super talent. But as of right now, it is pretty log-jammed between Diggs, Demario, Douglas there, and maybe he can emerge. But Kayshon Boutte's also really, really flashing in camp too. So it's a little bit crowded. I think by midseason, maybe he does take over. We'll find out. But I love the player. I hope it's less of a second year, third year, and more of a first. But that's the vibe I'm getting is first or second year for sure.
By the way, just a quick ad. I just looked this up. Eddie George was number 27. I was right.
Nice.
And as I was patting myself on the back for being right about that, there was also a part of me that was just like, you can't remember just basic things that somebody told you like an hour ago. Why do you know Eddie George's number? Like,
it's so true.
I would be okay with pushing that out and then being able to remember like the things that like my wife asked me to do. Just a tiny bit better. But for whatever reason, I've retained that knowledge. And so as I was congratulating myself, I was also like, what are you doing, man?
It is so true. Like, why does our brain prioritize what it does? Like, it's the best. I could tell you Dwayne Bowe was like the number one wide receiver in fantasy in 2011. But what chore was I supposed to do last night that I didn't?
No,
probably
never got around to it. Forgot.
Exactly. It's so true. Tunes, I love it, Buka. Do you know much about this Emeka Buka kid?
No, give it to me real quick.
He's the Bucks rookie receiver with Godwin on the shelf. He's kind of just a natural clone of Godwin. But then they're also moving him all around, from Coach Todd Bowles to Mike Evans. Everyone just like, this kid is the most professional person we've ever been around, the way he works, the way he's like making highlight play after highlight play. So I am all about Ibuka because you have the early season runway where Godwin's probably going to be banged up the first few weeks. And then it's like, if he's just doing so well, they're not going to kick him to the curb by any means. He's clearly had a Jalen McMillan. He's an awesome talent that just is so pro ready. I love Ibuka Tunes. Okay. He was going. He earlier would have been a sleeper on the show because he was going the 140s. Now he's creeped up to the hundreds, and I just felt it didn't qualify for a sleeper. But I would take him over any of the names I mentioned today. I tried to go deeper on the wide receivers. He's a guy in the guide I talked about, like in round 8, 9. Like I'm going to reach for because I really, really like this kid for sure. So big fan of Ibuka. Palmer, number 1 receiver for the Bills. That's why I love it at 190. Let's go. Pump for the pregame streams. I know, Chuck, love those early Sunday mornings. It's the best. The streaming schedule is going to be tricky this year, Truth, but I'd love to hopefully keep the Thursdays alive and Sunday mornings for sure. And I might have to drop the waiver wires. We'll find out. It's pretty intense.
I'd like to go at least once a week with you.
I think Thursday stream is always such a fun one. Like we get a good pregame crowd. We have a couple beers. Kind of gets you ready for the football game. It's always great.
I think we should potentially try to, depending on time, if we have time to do it, I think we should potentially try to bring in some of these end of episode drafts in too.
I know that would be fun too. I love it. So fun. We'll get to one in a second here for you guys too. What's up, Bulldog? Chuck, great to see you. In terms of second year breakouts, how many guys you have above Keon Coleman? Speaking of the Bills. And Coleman's definitely the highest ceiling of the Bills. I think Palmer's just going to prove to be too reliable. Coleman a little bit too boomer busty. But if Coleman did hit, he had a couple big games last year, and then he had that wrist injury and was never the same and didn't really rebound. So it's just a matter of like, was it the wrist that really derailed him, or is he just not that good? He really struggled to separate. They don't really get creative in terms of moving him around, giving him any type of layup looks. But if somebody panned out, we're talking about a guy in college that was a great prospect. He's got the most upside of any of the Bills receivers, I'd say. But also, he goes in the early 100s, whereas I can get Palmer in the 190s. Where Coleman goes, I typically go another direction, Chuck. But could he pan out big? Absolutely. There's some real upside there. Do you have any feelings towards Coleman or not really, Truth?
No, I mean, I agree. He's got the upside that you're talking about. I mean, I feel like it's another of those like offenses where you're just like, yeah, of course this guy could blow up. You never know. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know who I'd rank him above or below, but yeah, I mean, he's definitely on my radar.
Yeah, exactly. Toon saying Jacoby Myers. So this is where it's like we had to define sleeper. It's like in the top. This is a great price. I would call this a value, Tunes, where it's like Jacoby Myers should not be going 90-90 ECR. He gets a quarterback upgrade. Yeah, you're competing with Bowers, but Myers is a baller, and Geno's a perfect quarterback to just sling him looks. But I didn't want to just like you see these sleeper lists that come out, and it's like a sleeper quarterback is Jaden Daniels because he's going to be even better in year 2. And it's like that does nothing for me. We're talking deep. We're talking 140s or beyond for our sleepers here. Is Jacoby Myers a great value? I didn't know he was going 90-90 ECR, but yeah, that's a phenomenal value. I can't call it a sleeper, though. You got to be a little deeper than that. Would you agree, Truth? Is that a little bit of a loose definition?
You got to cut off somewhere. But I mean, it's like you said, it's like, yeah, he's a great price at that, but I don't think you can call him a sleeper.
Yes, exactly. Bulldog number 2 pick, 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs. I go with, and similar to what JJ says, when we talked about, you can watch Bulldog, go to yesterday's show. We go all depth in it. We both agree Bijan should be number 2. And it's even if it's not Bijan, if you want to go Gibbs or Barkley, I'm going to go with a running back either way there. Of course, if Jamar Chase falls, you're going Jamar Chase. But I'm going to go with Bijan as my number 2. I know Truth agreed with me yesterday, but if you want the big in-depth take on that and you just want a more insight on all the first rounders, check out yesterday's stream. We did who should go, how the first round should go in your fantasy leagues stream yesterday. And as JJ says, yeah, he agrees with Bijan there. JJ, I see Bijan going 1. Well, then you're going Jamar Chase, for there. So that's a pretty easy one for sure. And they're kind of talking about that.
Yeah.
For their fast food draft inspired an immediate cheesy gordita crunch run. No regrets from Charlie. I mean, there's always a little regret after you eat tacos.
That's the thing about fast food. It's like, well, I was about to make an inappropriate comparison, but yeah, there's always part of the charm and allure of fast food is that there's always a tiny bit of regret at the end.
Yes, it's kind of baked into it, right? You know it's going to hurt you at some point, but you want to do it to yourself. It's like a little self-sabotage, you just like feels good to hurt yourself every now and again.
Just a little, right?
Just a little bit, yeah. Not significantly, just a tiny bit. Like let me remind myself that my stomach really works, that my digestive system can have toxic waste in it.
Right, can do this.
Yeah. 14. Whew, JJ, steal. Anytime out of the top 10, like BTJ's a steal. You love Bo Mix, so how do you feel about Ingram? Love Ingram. I think Evan Ingram's a great value. Potential Joker role for Evan. Everybody loves to allude to the Joker role for Sean Payton. But he could be it. He's a great volume-hogging tight end that knows how to work the space. Could easily be the number 2 target for Bo Nix behind Sutton. Big fan. And Eddie George was 27. So traded Kyron Williams for T. Higgins and Tyrone Tracy. I really wanted to keep Kyron. I think the Rams' offense is Stafford Haffey has huge upside. What are your thoughts? Other RB is Bijan. Interesting trade here, Truth. I think I like it. Like I think Kyron's the best player in the deal, but you do have the sketchiness with Stafford right now. If he's not healthy, that impacts my outlook on this offense big time. Now, maybe they lean on Kyron a bit more. Jimmy Garoppolo is not the worst backup. He can certainly dink and dunk it with Kyron too. But I love Tyrone Tracy. I think he's a great value. And T. Higgins is a very solid wide receiver too. If your other upside, your running back is Bijan, like you got an anchor horse there, but your running back too did take a big hit. So it's almost like, what are your other receivers? Did you really need T. Higgins there? It's very equal to me. Like this trade is a very, like, I can see why you would do this if you really needed a wide receiver. Otherwise, I do typically lead to like who's the best player of the deal, and I think it is Kyron. But I have Kyron 24th and T maybe 30th, so they're very close. So to get a pick like Tyrone Tracy, does that bridge the gap? Absolutely, if you needed the wide receiver. So a little hard to evaluate without the rest of the team content. I think it's a fair trade. Like I don't think anybody either really won or – that's the other thing too, though. Is like I don't like to do a trade unless I'm like I am clearly smashing this trade. Like if it's very like equal like this, I kind of just let my roster like sit how it is. So he just really wanted to, and it makes sense. What do you think? Do you think he won the trade, Truth, or?
Again, it's hard to say without a little more context, but I would say, yeah, I generally subscribe to the best player in the deal. And at the same time, T. Higgins is pretty sexy.
Yeah, he's very sexy. And there's one of those things too, like if anything did happen to Jamar Chase, top 3 wide receiver type of upside with T. Higgins, for sure. So awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much for a great mailbag. Feel free to add the context, JJ. We'll definitely, if there's anything added between now and then, we can always peek our head back in. But it is time to do our non-football draft of the show, how we like to wrap things up. So as Truth said, we have a snack food draft on yesterday's episode. The previous show we did together, we had fast food restaurants. And now we're doing TV shows, which me and the Truth are both well-versed on. We've seen a lot of TV in our days.
We've seen a lot of TV and we've eaten a lot of food.
Yeah.
And I also just want to say for future drafts, I don't know how hard it was, the drag and drop you had from yesterday.
Yeah.
We need to like drag and drop logos for this.
It's easier with like the football guys because you just have to download headshots.
No,
I don't know
that's true.
exactly how I would do it, and I wouldn't know who you're picking, so it's like
That's
a little
true.
trickier.
That's true. We don't want to ruin the mystique.
I think after we draft, though, there would be a way. I can kind of show you, and we can figure it out how to do the tiers because that would be fun to do like tiers with this. I bet you there's already tiers made for TV shows too.
Oh, I'm sure there are. I'll tell you a little of the. I mean, obviously, most of it just came right from my head. But I did do a little bit of research online because I didn't want to forget anything. I was like, we're going to get on there, and then he's going to say something that's like my second favorite show, and it's not even going to be on my list at all.
Exactly. I have my list, but I know you're going to say one. But damn it, how did I not even think of that one? Like, right. Man.
So I went deep on this.
I have a list
criteria here? What's our criteria?
I think it's a TV show. This one, at least, there's not a lot of criteria. Like, it has to be at least one season of a show. So you can do a mini series if you want, like a single season. I was just going to throw one out there, but I'm probably going to draft it.
Where are you coming from? So, all right. So it's a TV show. It can be a drama. It can be a comedy.
Yes.
It can be a reality show. It could be can it be a documentary?
I'll tell you this. I did not put any like reality shows or documentaries on my list. If you have something,
so I have a separate column that they're in.
Yeah, like I love Survivor, but I did more so scripted TV show.
So scripted TV show. Where do you come down personally on a show that was absolutely incredible, but then it became awful and it ruined it? Like where do you because I have a whole list of
That's
like nine or 10 shows that I'm just like, man, this was awesome.
I'll toss one out there that I'm not going to draft. So you might end up picking it because it's what you're alluding to. Dexter was one of my favorite TV shows.
It's on that list. I have it on that list.
So long. The ending ruined it for me. Like I would not recommend somebody watch Dexter because that last season was that bad. There are shows that I am on my list that I didn't love how it ended, but I still like loved so much how it began and how it really went to the finish. And I don't think the finish is so bad that the show's like, I can't watch it. I wouldn't recommend it. And you're probably going to draft it at some point if I don't. So we'll get to that one, but that's up to you to decide. Like, does the ending of the show completely ruin it to the point that you wouldn't recommend somebody watch it? Like, I'm kind of thinking of this as like, if somebody said, what TV show should I watch? What am I telling them?
Right. Okay. I got you. And when we're done with this, I just want to rattle down the column of shows I have that I feel fall into this category.
Yes, we can totally do that. I have a best of the rest. I mean, we'll probably list like 30 TV shows by the end of it.
Yes, we will. We've seen some TV.
So, I do have the first pick though. So I'm gonna kick us off with Breaking Bad. Top to bottom, like talking about TV shows that from start to finish only get better. The ending was perfect, in my opinion. It's so hard to end a TV show well, too. That's why I don't hold it completely against shows that don't end well. When you can sustain 6 seasons of TV and then wrap it up and it's just like beautiful, Breaking Bad to me is like top to bottom, acting, script, everything, every single time. I know it starts a little slow for some people, but even then,
it's great.
It builds so well.
If you go on the top rated IMDb shows of all time, like there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of votes and ratings in there, Breaking Bad's actually number 1.
It should be, deservedly so. Like, how do you not love that show?
It's a great pick. It would have been minimum, like at the lowest, number 3 for me, and possibly higher. I mean, you're talking about very rarefied air when you're talking about Breaking Bad. It's incredible. It's great. Gus Fring, just such an amazing character. Love him.
Yeah. So good.
So good.
Haunting,
absolutely so good.
Haunting.
And then I've seen him in so many things since then, and all I can think about is that.
And I saw a picture the other day too, where like it made me think of Breaking Bad as soon as we started talking about this. Literally, like the next thing I did, I opened Facebook, and it was a picture of like a kid sitting on a couch, and his parents are meth heads, and Jesse's in the room, like staring at him, like, what kind of mess am I creating? Like through this whole thing, I'm growing in this like human moment. They had so many of those moments that like pull at your heartstrings. Like you recognize like amidst all the chaos that's going on, the humanity at the same. It's 10 out of 10. Vince Gilligan's a genius. Love that show.
Great show. Getting to my second and third picks. One of them, I believe I had a conversation with you at some point where you weren't as high on it as other people. But if I'm going to recommend shows to people, My 2 and 3 picks are going to be, well, The Sopranos is going to be number 2. And I thought you might take that number 1, honestly.
It's my number 2.
Right. And I'm going to say The Wire number 3 for me. I feel like at some point you told me you weren't as high on The Wire as everybody else.
You're correct. Yeah, I like The Wire a lot, but it wouldn't have been my 3rd.
I mean, it's possibly the best show I've ever seen. I mean, it's Idris. So have you seen the whole thing?
Oh yeah, love that show. I do really like it.
I mean, season 4 of The Wire, season 3, season 4 of The Wire. I mean, the
Baltimore, the season 4.
Yeah, when they're in the school and stuff.
Or the school, right? They're all in Baltimore, but yeah, the school system specifically. Yeah.
And and also just as an aside, I don't know where your wife would come down on this, but my wife has been given a blanket hall pass if Idris Elba ever, for some reason, is interested in hooking up with her, which hopefully he won't be. But I've been like, yeah, I understand. I mean,
he shows up in Belchertown,
he shows up, or you just haven't been in the same place, and he kind of like he's making eyes at you. Yeah, you can do it. It's fine.
You could see it for sure. Oh yeah.
I just think
I'd have no issue with that. No, I would.
The Wire's incredible. The Sopranos. I mean, I know we're on the same page as far as that goes.
Yeah.
I gave that a rewatch probably within like the last year. It's so good, man. It holds up so well. It's just fantastic.
It is as good as it gets. My father-in-law, I have to ask Hillary exactly how many times he's seen it, but he rewatches it like annually, sometimes twice in a year. I think he's at like 50 or 60 like rewatches of The Sopranos. It's insane. And I totally see why. It is so good.
I think I've seen it 3 or 4 times.
Like, and I just love how it begins to like the duck, and you're just like immediately you have to feel for this guy that's such a horrible human, but yet
he's such a bad guy.
He is so compelling. Like Gandolfini, too bad,
Did you see the David Chase documentary on HBO about?
I haven't. No.
What? Oh my gosh! You have to watch it.
Yeah,
it's incredible. If you're a Sopranos guy, you have to watch it. And also, just as an aside, first of all, tragedy that James Gandolfini is no longer with us. But when you hear him talking, like to the camera and stuff, he doesn't sound like Tony Soprano. He has this like weird, like kind of rich guy sounding accent.
I cannot picture that at all.
it's crazy. Anyway, great show. I feel good about my 2 and 3 picks. I thought about letting The Wire float for a little longer because I didn't think you would take it. But I was like, if I'm being honest, this is where I would pick it.
I appreciate it because I would have maybe in like the 4th or 5th round looked at it, but I like The Wire a lot. I respect how it all comes together and the different aspects you see, and then you feel like, okay, why season 2 mattered. Like, it's good for me. I really do like it. I probably should give it a rewatch for sure. I am going to go with what I thought you might have gone, and that's Game of Thrones at 4. And this kind of does spark that, like, the ending, does it ruin the whole thing for you? I didn't love how it wrapped up. Most people don't. The last season was completely rushed, and it shouldn't have been. But then in hindsight, like, if you do rewatch it, it's really not that bad. I think what made the ending feel so bad is they made us wait 2 years, and then they gave us these rushed episodes after loving the pacing, after how drawn out and deep into the characters they get. I did hate that it ended the way it did, but I cannot ignore, what was it, 6 seasons or 7 seasons in Game of Thrones?
I think it was 8.
8? So, okay. The first 6, before the second to last one, like, started to feel a little rushed, and the last one definitely felt rushed. But those first like 5 or 6, like when you get hit with the red wedding, or when you like, there were some moments where I've never been so like emotionally drained or hurt or excited and teary. We could do a Game of Thrones character draft because of how many great characters there are.
I remember vividly when we worked together, coming to school the next day after the Mountain versus the Viper, and just like yelling at each other basically.
Yes.
Just about, like, how awesome it was. I was so riveted. That's a tough one for me because I hated the last season. I hated how the show ended. I hated what they did with it. And at the same time, there was 5 or 6 years where I was so compelled by every single thing they did. If I recommended the show to someone, I would just be like, I'm just going to warn you, the last year and a half are terrible.
I wouldn't even say it's terrible. Like, it's not good, but I
think it's pretty terrible.
Yeah, I guess that's where we did. I think the end of Dexter was horrendous, and that's where it ruined it for me. Maybe Game of Thrones was that level of horrendous for you. I don't think it was that bad comparatively.
I mean, they spent a ton of money on it, so I mean, it looked breathtaking. Just
Right.
yeah, we could argue about the ending of Game of Thrones forever. I definitely have some thoughts, but that if not for that, if they had landed the plane, it'd probably be number one on my list.
It'd be number one. Yeah, it was like we can all remember that feeling of like 9 o'clock. You were nowhere else on Sunday. You made sure you sat down and you watched Game of Thrones, no matter what else like was going on in your life, and you could not wait to talk about. Like you said, with me and you at school, I was like, I cannot wait to debrief this with Truth. Like I haven't felt that for a show. Maybe because it is so much of it's like they come out binging or they give you the whole season at once. I don't know if I've felt that like that appointment viewing and water cooler, like cannot wait to talk about this since Game of Thrones, really.
I didn't, unless Breaking Bad came after Game of Thrones. I'm bad chronologically, but that was also a key appointment viewing for me.
That was absolutely so that's where Game of Thrones does take the 4th spot with that acknowledgement. The ending wasn't great. 5, I think you're going to be a little upset I take this one, and it's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It is just so funny. Every single episode is hilarious. There's really not one where I'm like, that one was kind of lame. Like maybe one in like 19 seasons was like mediocre. Not even though. Like every single time I watch an episode, I'm laughing my ass off at some point of it. And to go that long and be that funny, and I haven't seen the newest season. I kind of waiting for it. It might all be done at this point, but I haven't been watching the newest season. Last season though, I just respected that like they take jabs at the PC culture, and they've got at this point they have so much rope that they kind of milk it. They're just like, we can get away with whatever we want to get away with, because like even in this like this world where you can't really make comedy anymore, we're just gonna like rip it to shreds and still just do absurdly disgusting and disturbing and offensive stuff. And it just cracks me up to no end. So Always Sunny, the longevity, the way you can just throw it on at any given moment. That was kind of my go-to, like with Josie, like when I was feeding her. She's been raised on Always Sunny, so who knows how that will do to her. Right. But that was like the go-to, like if I have to feed her and she's asleep on me, like I'm throwing on Always Sunny.
I mean,
watching it.
I love it. They have toned it down a lot as far as like what they're doing. There are definitely some episodes in the earlier seasons where you're just like, there's no way they would ever do that now. But I really like respect. I mean, I really respect the show. I think it's so funny. I love that they did it in the first place, and they're still edgy, like for compared to
what else is out there.
What another sitcom. But I mean, there's stuff they did in the first 2-3 seasons that are just like, you're just like, you could never get away with that now.
Yeah, it's so true. But yeah, I go Always Sunny. Just the longevity, the humor. It's my wheelhouse for sure.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with one which I don't know how you'll feel about it or not, but we're talking about longevity. I'm going to go with The Simpsons.
Okay.
This I mean, it's not great now. It's still better than most things on TV, honestly, now. But there was like a 6-7 year stretch of The Simpsons where like they had like 140 great episodes in a row. And I was raised on this. It is crazy when I think about this show. There's 10, 12 episodes that I think are like just about the best thing I've ever seen on TV. But it's like when this show came out, I was in middle school. So I was like, a couple years older than Bart, maybe. I'm now significantly older than Homer. It's just crazy to have had a show in my life that's literally spanned from when I was a kid to like, and solidly well into middle age. And it's just it's nuts. It's a complete, like, it's stamped onto my life in a way that no other show is, and no other show ever will be, like, no question about it. So if I couldn't realistically, honestly continue this list unless I had it on the list. So
I love it. The meaningful aspect to it. It wasn't going to be on my list just because I've never been. I didn't barely ever watch The Simpsons. It was one of those things like my parents were like, "Oh, Simpsons," even though they probably had no idea. Like, it was actually pretty awesome and educational.
Yeah, I've learned it
when I was younger, and so by the time it was like, "Oh, I should probably, as TV lore, watch The Simpsons." There's what, like 25 seasons,
25. It's like 30, 38 or something.
Right. I'm saying when I was like 18, like, I should watch The Simpsons. It's like, am I going to really watch 25 seasons? But I mean, there's so many, like the haunted horror TV. I've seen many episodes through the years. The horror, what do they call it? Like the Treehouse of Horror.
Treehouse of Horror, yeah.
Yeah, like those are always amazing. The way that it's like pops up on social media where it's like The Simpsons predicted this like 30 years ago, and like here it is. It's so smart, and it's crazy to be able to sustain the way it is. Is it still like running right now?
It is still on TV.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I could talk about The Simpsons forever. And I've raised my kids on The Simpsons. I mean, they
like it too.
Oh, they love it. Absolutely.
Great.
All right, number 7. I'm going to dip back into the Vince universe, and I'm going to grab Better Call Saul at number 7. I just think, talk about a worthy follow-up show to, you always worry, are they going to cheapen the brand? Is this going to suck in the wake of Breaking Bad? And I loved Better Call Saul. I mean, it's kind of a slow burn a little bit. Like, it takes a while to get to stuff sometimes, but man, just so well written, so well acted, just so many characters on the show that are just timeless to me. And I absolutely loved it. What are your thoughts on Better Call Saul?
So you're going to probably kill me, Truth. I've actually never made it through Better Call Saul yet.
Really?
Yes. Me and Hillary tried the pilot twice, and both times we fell asleep. And she was like, and then she was like, I'm not going to do this show. If you want to do it on your own. But you know how that goes. Like, when do I have the time to binge a TV show by myself right now?
You'll be surprised how little that happens once you have a kid.
You can't. Like, it's hard to anyways without a kid. And nowadays, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to. I want to definitely give it a new shot. We're on the Penguin right now. We hadn't seen, and we're watching, which is awesome. Have you seen the
Penguin's great.
Yeah, it's so good. So after we finish that, maybe we'll do Better Call Saul. Because as somebody that's Breaking Bad Blue as the number one choice, I should be giving Vince Gilligan a shot. And everybody says if you love Breaking Bad, you have to do Better Call Saul.
I mean, Gus and Mike are two of the main characters.
And I love Mike too. So
I mean, Gus is you see how he rises to power and stuff.
That's pretty sweet. Yeah. So I got to do it. Yeah, we got to do Better Call Saul for sure.
All right.
This is going to be tough for me because I have like 3 that I really want to draft. Oh man, we're definitely going to do just like rapid fire best of the rest because I'm going to have to leave like a few off for right now. And this is going to be a tricky one because I don't know how the plane lands. But in terms of like what's captivated me more than any show currently, Severance is so good. Like I am obsessed with Severance on Apple TV right now. I thought there was a few weird episodes in season 2 and weird moments, but Severance as a whole, I listened to all the podcasts with Ben Stiller. Like I'm so intrigued. It's such a unique sci-fi concept that like seems really not that far away or that I have no idea how it's going to go, but I have faith in it. I love the acting. I think Adam Scott's incredible in it. So I'm going to go Severance. Have you been watching Severance?
So let me tell you, let me say something about Severance right now. So our wives, to some degree, might be cut from the same cloth. And by the way, I'm crazy about my wife, so that's not taking a shot. But so Severance, we watched season 1 of Severance, loved it. We're just like, this is incredible. This is like one of the best things I've ever seen on TV. So excited when it came back. We bought Apple TV specifically just so we could watch Severance. We got about 4 episodes in, and my wife was just like, I'm out. This is stupid.
Really?
Yes.
Have you seen how the season wraps up?
Yes. I finished the season. I thought it was all right. I didn't think it was anywhere near as good as the first season. But my wife was just like, I hate this. I'm out. And one thing about my wife is when she says something like that, there's no getting her back.
There's no turning back.
No, she means it. She can hold a grudge, man, and that includes TV. And when she feels like she is this way as like a professional and educator, she feels like if somebody's like wasting her time, it makes her really angry. If she's got to go to a meeting she doesn't feel like she should have to go to.
I work with Anna. I know.
and as a result, she tries not to waste other people's time.
Yes, exactly.
And man, she was like, they're wasting my time. I hate them.
Yeah, they did. There were a few, when you think about the greatest of all time, maybe it is a stretch to put it in this draft right now.
First season was so great, though.
There
So
were
great.
some episodes that are just like, ugh. But there are some episodes where it's just like, my God, that was one of the best episodes of TV
Yep.
I have ever seen. The one with his wife, what was it, episode 6, I want to say, in season
Yeah,
2.
absolutely.
Unbelievable transition, cinematography. Like, it's so unique and
It's a
unlike
really
anything
good
I've
show.
ever seen. So it all depends on how the plan lands. It could be one where like you see the final season, like, yep, I would never recommend anyone watch this. It could end up being incredible if they can land this plane. So it's captivated me more than any show in recent memory. So I think a theme we're going with here is like, I have so many single, like, well, I don't want to, you'll do your draft and we'll ruffle some up, but like in terms of mini series, like one season shows that I really love, but it's looking like we're kind of going for shows that like really sustained and like did a few seasons at least. And
Well,
so
I'm kind of looking at it as like, if I were on a desert island, what would I want to have with me? And it's like, and what would I recommend to people? And it's like, yeah, generally speaking, I like volume. I like a lot of episodes, but there have been some amazing 1-2 season things
yes.
that I'm going to mention. Definitely.
Yeah, we'll mention those in the best of the rest, and maybe we even draft those at some point. But I'll stick with the theme then. I'm going to go Succession for my.
I thought about it. I
Yeah,
honestly
Succession's
thought
awesome. Just so funny. Such a great look at like how the other half lives, and like you still somehow end up feeling for these characters, even though they're so awful and ruthless. Every single one of them, though, especially Kieran Culkin, he's so good. But the Roy family is unbelievable. I thought it landed the plane very well. I thought, not to give away spoilers, but like episode 2 or 3, I think it was, of that final season, where you're like, whoa, okay, like he's gone. So, wow, where do we go from here? Like when shows have those moments that like truly catch you off guard, and just like get the Red Wedding and Game of Thrones, like there's just those moments that just hit you, and you're like, wow, like a TV show shouldn't like make me this shocked. And that episode sticks with me. A bunch of episodes stick with me in that show, and I thought it ended really well. So I love Succession. I'm going to go with that as my last round pick.
it's possible that I would have taken Succession with my last pick if you hadn't.
Yeah,
I found my last pick also to be pretty difficult. There's 4, 5, 10 shows that I could consider for this. But I'm going to go with one that honestly, because of the pandemic, it really imprinted on me. It was just like, we were all just looking for something to do, like you're kind of trapped at home, couldn't do much. And this is when I really got into Ozark.
Yeah, Ozark was awesome in the pandemic.
Yeah. And it just, because of that, it really sustained and has a place in my heart that most shows don't. I found that the season with her mentally ill brother in it to just be so, I thought that guy was just incredible.
He was so good.
This guy is probably the best playing of someone with bipolar. People talk about people being bipolar all the time. It's a really overused phrase. That guy was bipolar.
Yeah.
And that actor just completely nailed it. I just thought it was a really good show. Jason Bateman was so sleazy.
Yes.
You just kind of wanted to punch him all the time. Yeah. And at the same time, you're kind of pulling for him at the same time. It's kind of like Tony Soprano. Like you hate him, but you're pulling for him. Except the difference is, I feel like
in a way too. Like
right.
It's all those good leads that you hate, but you still want them to like make it through at the end of the day.
But the difference between Tony Soprano and Jason Bateman's character is, I think I could beat up Jason Bateman's character. Tony would obviously kill me. Yeah. So anyway, that rounds out my top 10. I have a lot of other ones to mention.
Ozark's great too. Before you move off Ozark, I will say too, one thing I loved about it, like it did not start slow. I mean, there was no slow burn. Like
no,
you jump in and you are just like in this like whirlwind the whole time. Which I loved. Like every single episode's tense. Every single time you're like you said, the pandemic, everybody's just sitting there like, what's the next episode? What's the next episode? Like, let's keep going. Oh yeah, I love that feeling. Ozark's a great one that I didn't even have. I didn't think to add to my list, and I'm very happy that you did, because that was a great experience.
I'm iffy about whether it should have made my list of top 5, but I feel good having it there. I mean, it's worthy in my opinion.
Yeah.
I do have a bunch of other things to mention. So can I give you my list of shows that were awesome and then they weren't?
Sure. Bad endings. Yeah, that ruined it type of thing. We already mentioned Dexter.
Right, Dexter. I also have Game of Thrones on that list.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones maybe would have made my top 5 just because I did get so much enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
But you took it. Okay, so the show Lost. My wife, if you want to make my wife furious, just bring up the show Lost.
Yeah, you talk about not liking wasted time. Like,
no, I mean, I'm telling you, like that show ended. I'm not even sure I had a daughter yet, and she's almost 15. That show ended that long ago. If you bring up, hey, if you just ever want to just needle my wife, if you ever see her, be like, hey, Anna, what'd you think of the end, how Lost ended? She will just, gosh, she gets so angry.
Next time I see her, I'll make sure to bring it
just
up.
Just mention it. Other shows, and I mean, one of these shows isn't over. So I'm just going to say one of the things that makes me as mad as anything. So did you ever watch Westworld?
I loved the first season, and it got way too into itself, and so I'd agree with you.
You get it completely. Westworld season 1 was one of the best seasons of TV I've ever
couldn't been more compelled. I thought it was.
I mean, I was just like, this is great. I felt the same way about it, maybe even more so than I did about when I saw the first season of Severance.
Yeah, it's very similar.
Like, I am so all in on this. I could not be more all in on this. And then by the end of the second season, I was like, I don't know about this. And then like by the third season, completely unwatchable. And then by the time the fourth season came out, I literally didn't even watch it. Yeah. And it's like an amazing fall from grace to go from like, this is like the best thing I've ever seen to I'm literally not watching the show anymore.
Yeah, it's a great call out. Yeah, I couldn't have been more captivated in season 1, but I didn't even make it to season 3. Season 2 was like, you know what, you're too much for me already. I didn't even want to. I think I might have watched the first episode of season 3. Like maybe they can get it back together. And then I was like, nope, not doing this. I have no clue what they're even talking about anymore.
Agree completely. Yeah. And so a couple more. So one other show, and this show is not over, come to find out. And not everyone agrees with me on this. This is pretty polarizing take here, but I don't know if you ever watched Ted Lasso.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I thought season 1 was incredible. I thought season 2 was maybe even better. Just so fantastic. And I thought season 3 was like someone just took a dump on my kitchen table. And it's really, really tough. I have so many problems with it. And so, if not for that, that probably would go on my list. Honestly.
You know what, Truth? I don't know if I hate the last season as much as you, but I had it on my list and I put a question mark because I'm like, yeah, that last season kind of sucked. Like it got way too serious and the jokes weren't funny anymore.
It wasn't funny anymore.
Like, this is a comedy. Come on. We're
they did all these like plot lines that went nowhere that I didn't care about. I was just like, there were so many stupid things about it, but man, season 2 of that show, so good. So good.
So good. I love Ted Lasso. I did think about drafting it, but the last season left enough of a taste in my mouth to not. So I'm going to throw out a few in terms of like, most of these are mini series or like one season was very good and the rest wasn't great. But for me, True Detective season 1 was like the best.
I have it on my list. True Detective season 1,
best single season of TV of all time. Like, and that's why I almost took it over when I was like debating, do I take Succession or do I take this? It was True Detective because I've never enjoyed one season of TV more than the Matthew McConaughey, Woody Harrelson. Like that was just unbelievable to me.
So I would put season 1 of True Detective. I'm not going to say it's my favorite season ever of all time, but I put it right there in the same conversation with like season 4 of The Wire, season 1 of Westworld, season like
last season of the
season like 4 of Game of Thrones.
Yeah. So good.
Like, I put that, I put it in the same conversation. That's how good I think it is.
Yeah. To me, it's the top of the list. Like that, I've never been so captivated. I loved Band of Brothers. Like
I've never seen Band of Brothers. So this is on my, I have 3 shows on my list right here. 3 big shows that I haven't seen that I want to see. Band of Brothers is one of them.
Yeah.
Shogun is one of them.
Oh yeah, you'd love that.
Everyone talks about Shogun.
Like, best of the rest. Shogun is so good.
Haven't seen it. Let me look. What's the third one? Oh, and Mr. Robot. Everybody says
I've never done Mr. Robot either.
Never seen it. People talk about how great it is. I'm like, all right, I got to check that out at some point.
Shogun, I can definitely vouch for the first 2. I have not seen Mr. Robot, but that's on my list as well. Shogun's great. Band of Brothers is even better. make sure you see that one for sure.
Okay.
Another one you probably saw, Queen's Gambit, I thought was incredible.
Oh, I forgot all about that. It's a great show.
Like that could certainly have made either of our top 10 for sure. Did you ever see the show Beef on Netflix as well?
Absolutely, I saw Beef. Of course.
Beef was so good.
We've watched a lot of TV.
Yeah, we do watch a lot of TV. And the only other one, like those are all more like one seasons or single seasons. But I do want to just toss out The Office in terms of like again,
The Office was close to getting on my list.
Like it's just so good every single time, especially the early seasons were just so ruthless and not worried about defending anybody. And that's another one where it's like if it's on TV and it's an episode, like I'm just probably just gonna watch it. Like it's gonna be on the background of anything I do. So I love The Office too. So those were a few more best of the rest I wanted to toss out there.
The Office is fantastic. As far as other shows that have had one really good season, and it's only had one season so far, have you guys watched The Pitt?
Hills loved it. I haven't seen it yet. No, Hills loved
really
it.
good, really good. Yeah,
it's like 24 hours, right? Where it's like almost.
I think it. I don't know if it goes 24, but each show's an hour. I mean, it's
okay.
It's like, but maybe like 15, 16, something like that.
Yeah.
It's great. I highly recommend it. Let's see what else. So as far as
Vikings, South Park, Blacklist, and Last Kingdom. So I think South Park, especially how long it's gone, I respect. I've never seen Vikings, Last Kingdom. I think I've seen the Blacklist, and I thought it was fine, but
I also saw Blacklist, thought it was like okay. Probably would enjoy it if I watched the rest of it. South Park, really hilarious, but it's hit and miss. Like, man, it's the ceiling is really high, but the floor is also really low.
Right.
Like, sometimes it's just really stupid, but man, there's some absolutely 100 just amazing episodes, all-time greats, which again many of which probably wouldn't be allowed on TV now, but they got
I've heard Vikings is amazing. My buddy Tans, who tunes knows, loves Vikings. Have you seen Vikings?
No.
Yeah, I've heard that one's.
You know a show that I thought you might throw out here, but you didn't.
What's that?
I thought you might throw out Banshee.
Dude, I was gonna say if we made a sleeper pick, Banshee would have been. I have it on my list, but I was like, nobody's heard of Banshee.
You're the one who turned me on to Banshee when we worked together.
Dude, how wild was Banshee?
Banshee was crazy, and what's even crazier about it is the guy is Homelander.
Oh wow, I didn't even know that.
From The Boys. Have you seen The Boys?
Wow. No, Hills didn't like The Boys, so we didn't end up going through that one.
But you know Homelander though, who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's the guy. That's the main character of Banshee.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I did not know that was him.
Yeah, he's awesome. But yeah, you turned me on to that. But that was before you were married. That was when you were allowed to like watch just completely whatever you wanted, no matter how crazy it was. Right, exactly.
Oh man.
Other shows, 6 Feet Under is fantastic.
I haven't seen that. It's on my list for sure.
And 6 Feet Under stands out because you know how some shows don't land the plane.
Yeah.
6 Feet Under is the best finale I've ever seen of a show.
It didn't make your draft, huh?
It was close. It might have been my next pick. It was up there, but it's like it's the last episode of you just want everything wrapped up, and they just did it better than any show I've ever seen.
That's great to know. I'll have to. That's on the list for sure.
Yeah. Other shows. Have you ever watched Black Mirror?
Yeah, I have not seen it all the way through, but I've seen a bunch of episodes, and it is wild.
Some of them are really awesome. Some of them not so good, but I love Black Mirror. Yeah.
Black Mirror is great. Yeah.
And other than that, I mean, I'm trying to think if there's any other things that are worth mentioning. We used to watch Killing Eve.
I loved Killing Eve to start. It just kind of
to start, but I would put this in the category of shows that were awesome for like a couple seasons, and they should have just ended.
It was so good at first, yeah.
And then by the end, I didn't watch it anymore.
I never saw it through, yeah.
No, me either. So anyway.
They lose you. The one other one I'll toss out there. Have you ever seen The Haunting of Hill House?
It's on my list, and as far as single seasons of TV, first of all, probably the scariest thing I've ever seen on TV.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Like in terms of pure terror, that first season, the rest of them, like The Haunting of Bly Manor was fine, but not great.
Those are only loosely connected though. Like it's like they're not right. But Haunting of Hill House, I watched that with my wife and daughter,
Yes.
And I'd already seen it, and I watched it back. My daughter was getting into horror and wanted to watch something scary. I was like, I'll show you something that's fucking
That
scary.
was like genuinely the scared, most scared I've ever been.
She was scared as hell, man.
It is so scary. That's why I wanted to mention that too, because I love horror. And that's like one of the scariest movies, shows, anything that I've ever seen. When it comes down from the ceiling on that end of it, I think it's episode 6 or something. I think I crapped myself. Like, I actually, it was so scary, like, to me. And I had a nightmare that's like one of the few times where I can actually be like, I did not sleep because of this show for like.
I got like scared by it. And if you look at it, and I saw these because I watched it a second time with my family. There's just like ghosts in the background all the time.
Yeah,
like they're just in the background of these shots. Like, and they're just there for a second, but there's just shit going on all the time. And that scene where that old ghost came into that kid's room and then left, and then the kid like made a noise, and then he just really slowly comes back.
Yeah.
And like the kid's under the bed. That was scary as shit, man.
So scary. Yeah. Oh, classic horror. Good stuff. Yeah. Oh man, good list here. Good list here for sure. Fun draft as always, Truth. Oh man, we have one last trade question. So we'll give, if this guy's been hanging around DeAndre Swift season, he asked Jameson Williams, Addison, and Josh Downs, which running back. It's a good package. A bunch of good wide receiver 2s. Maybe Downs becomes a good wide receiver 2. I like the talent. But, like, that's a lot to give up. And it's also one of those things, though, it's like, somebody must have really bad wide receivers to need 3 guys to get a really good running back. You know what I mean?
I run into trades like this in our league all the time. And the person packaging the players always is like, this is a really good deal. These are 3 good players. And it's just like, you're giving me 3 guys who may or may not start for me that are like, good wide receivers, but you want like an absolute stud running back of mine,
exactly.
And I'm as the running back guy, I'm almost never going to make that trade.
Yes, exactly. And like, it's again, like, what team is going to need 3 guys? I really do like Jameson and Addison are 2 of my, like, in the guide. I wrote about both of them. I love both those guys. And Downs, I think I mentioned as like a going way too late in ESPN. Do like him too, but it's like, I never want to be the guy that's receiving a bunch of things to give up my best player. And like, it just seems to me like I'm getting a bunch of wide receiver 2s. Am I really going to give up? Like, Tunes mentions Josh Jacobs. If I put it on a trade calculator, like, probably comes out equal, but I would 10 out of 10 times, like, Josh Jacobs and whatever receivers I have, I'd probably rather have. It sounds like you do have some stacked receivers here. Ted McMillan, Jefferson, Olave, London, like, in particular, London and Jefferson, like, boom. And I love Ted McMillan too. I'm not a huge Olave guy. But, like, I don't know, DeAndre, it's so hard to, like, what's fair value? Maybe a Jacobs, but, like, is somebody actually going to pull that off? Probably not. You're more so probably looking at, like, one of your running backs and Drake London to get yourself a true running back 1 type of thing. Like, it's more so what's actually going to probably move the needle for somebody. But it's so hard to, like, speculate on those. Charlie tosses out 24 and Hill House. And Toon says Vikings and Last Kingdom. Give them a shot. Tans has been telling me to watch both those 2 tunes, so I'll have to check that out as well. But awesome, Truth. This was a blast. You guys are still here. On your way out, hit that thumbs up button to help us get out to more people, the heart button on Twitter, the likes, shares, retweets, all that good stuff. Sub to the show. Great to see new guys like JJ in the chat today. I would love to have you guys come to draft and do more shows with us. All of our content is at rotostreetjournal.com, including my rankings, including the draft guide if you want to support your boy. It's the only thing we charge for all year. The reviews have been tremendous so far. It's been a great resource for multiple people through multiple years. And as somebody that ranked 6th in last year, 2nd in multi-year accuracy, that's backed up by at least what Fantasy Pros does in their accuracy competition. So please consider giving that a look, supporting your boy, helping me get Josie through daycare. It means the world, though, to have you guys, because daycare is not cheap. I need that money, no doubt about it. But thanks again so much, guys. In a world of fantasy sheep, be the wolf. Later.